The film was finally done. Thank the Most High. It took 3 years and a lot of money to complete. My friends would joke that I must have been making the Titanic. Murder Music was shot on 16mm film. Nowadays you can make a good movie using professional quality digital cameras. But any real movie maker will tell you that there's nothing like the look that film will give you. I started shopping for a company to release my film. The first meeting I took was with Lionsgate, but I wanted more offers. There was a black film festival in Acapulco, Mexico, and all access passes were like $800, but it was worth the bread. I wanted to go and rub shoulders with others in the film industry. I brought Kiki so we can enjoy Acapulco while we weren't handling business. This was only our second trip together outside of the tri-state area, and our first outside of the country. Gotti and my man Derek from high school took turns watching the kids while we were gone. When we landed in Acapulco, we rented a Jeep Suzuki drop top so we could move around town. Driving along the beautiful ocean side, far away from the dirty New York buildings, it felt great to be with Kiki. Most celebrities were staying at the same hotel, so I saw a lot of familiar faces like Mekhi Phifer, Bill Duke, Lisa Ray, and Master P and his wife. I attended seminars and learned about film editing, directing, and distribution. On the last night of the festival, I bumped into my cousin, Eric Daniels, who had become a writer and producer for Disney movies. Remember when my pops kidnapped me and took me to Detroit? Eric was Pop's cousin Beverly's son. Now he was a grown man and at the festival with his wife. It was a great surprise to see him. Biz Markie was DJing at a club across from the hotel, so Kiki and I decided to go. We argued a lot in Mexico over other women, but I promised that I would leave all that type of stuff for her book. Kiki and I had another argument at the Bismarck party and went back to our room to have angry drunk sex. The next morning, we flew back to New York, back to the normal hustle. Job pressed up our Gangsters Roll singles to get the buzz going for America's Nightmare. We had a hot song with 50 Cent called Pop Those Things in the stash, but I told Havoc it wasn't a good idea to put it on our album. 50 was too hot at that time, and I wanted to avoid anyone saying, oh, Mobb Deep is only hot now because of 50. I already had a 50 Cent collaboration on the Murder Music soundtrack called Bump That. DJs would only play 50's verse from Bump That on the radio, then would switch to another 50 song, like our verses didn't even matter. Wow, that ain't feel too good. It made me want to go hunt for the DJs who did that. 50 would make new songs out of other rappers and R&B singers' tracks. This had a lot of rappers upset because 50 would turn their singles into his singles. Havoc and I decided to start doing what 50 was doing, taking his Magic Stick beat and making our own version called Matic Clips, about guns instead of sex. It worked. Ja Rule from Murder Inc. was upset that 50 was dissing him on his Wankster single. The whole song was clowning him. So Ja retaliated by making a song called New York. I'm not a Ja Rule fan. He was always corny to me. Plus my man E Money Bags didn't like his whole Murder Inc. and Supreme Team crew. So Ja Rule was the enemy. Ja Rule's shooting his video today and he wants us to be in it, Havoc said in the studio one day. So what? I said, looking at Hav puzzled. Fuck Ja Rule. I don't want to be in that nigga video. Come on, I'm going, Hav said. Come with me. Nah, I'm good. Fuck Ja Rule and his video. You ain't gotta be in the video if you don't want to, Hav said. Just come with me, so I ain't gotta go by myself. There's gonna be mad bitches there. Okay, I'll meet you over there, I said, though I had no intentions of showing up. Send me the location. That night, I went to Alchemist's crib in Manhattan to bring him a copy of the Murder Music movie. I started bringing my camcorder everywhere, and filmed us in Alchemist's apartment working on a song for his album called Hold You Down. Alchemist's brother, Neil, had 50 Cent's DVD, The New Breed. So we watched 50's DVD and murdered music and smoked some blunts. At our Queens studio the following day, Havoc was mad that I stood him up, telling me that I missed out on seeing all the females and the rappers in Job's New York video featuring Fat Joe and Jadakiss. So what? I said to myself. I don't give a fuck who was there. All I cared about was Mobb Deep and America's Nightmare. We proceeded to work on the album. Fuck everybody else, especially Irv Gotti and Ja Rule. Chapter 11. America's Nightmare. P, yeah, you heard of him. Big ignorant chains and sports cars, gallons of Bacardi Bennett the awards. I need a bitch like Christina Aguilera for a broad. I know I can splack that. She dying for a thug and she heard of me. She know about my infamous life. Shootouts in New York with various types. Fast money, faster guns. We party every night. When you hit her. Alchemist played a new beat for me at his crib as we were putting the finishing touches on America's Nightmare. He sampled the 80s hit, She Blinded Me with Science, transforming it into a hardcore club banger. The beat was so hot that we played it for Havoc and immediately wrote a song called Got It Twisted to add to the new album at the last minute. We always came up with the hottest songs for our albums at the last minute. As soon as Chris Lighty and Jive heard Got It Twisted, they wanted to shoot a video and use it for the official first single. Jive wasted no time. Director Benny Boone shot the video in Los Angeles. When the video came out, we got a call to do a small tour in Europe, including a festival in Sweden with all rock acts. Mobb Deep and Busta Rhymes were the only rappers. Havoc and I released a mix CD called The West Coast Mixtape, hosted by DJ Big Mike, featuring us rapping over Tupac, Snoop Dogg, Mac 10, Ice Cube, Sugar Free, and other West Coast rappers' tracks. As soon as we arrived at the hotel in Sweden, swarms of kids were waiting for us. Alchemist and I went for a stroll to check out the scene. Two little blonde kids, no more than 8 years old, walked up and started rapping. I didn't realize it at first, but when I listened, I realized they were reciting my rhymes from the West Coast Mix CD that we just released no more than a week before. Yo, do you hear what they're saying? Alchemist said. That's from the West Coast CD. Yeah, I know. How do y'all know them lyrics, shorty? Alchemist asked. My brother got it off the internet, one of them said. Do you want to meet my brother and his friends? They got a lot of girls they can hook you up with. We laughed and told him to get his brother. That was the first time I realized the power of the internet. Within a week, this little 8-year-old Swedish kid knew a verse by heart, word for word, that I had just written and recorded. It was amazing. Seeing the people in Sweden for the first time was also amazing. Nothing but blonde-haired, blue-eyed females all over the place. 5 minutes later, the two kids came back with a crew of dudes in their early 20s. When they saw Alchemist and me, they started repeating more of my lyrics and some of their own rhymes. We posed for pictures with them on their camera phones, then Alchemist and I walked around to check out more of Sweden. At around 11 that night, we took the stage at the Busta Rhymes. An hour into our performance, I saw something unbelievable. The sun started shining, and it slowly became daytime all over again, shortly after midnight. From midnight until 8 o'clock the next night, there was full sunshine. I felt disoriented, like I was on drugs. In the hotel lobby after the show, Alchemist and I saw the two little kids again. It was 2 a.m., but the sun was shining bright. Hey, you want to see something crazy? The chubbier blonde kid asked. What? I asked him. I guess these kids' parents let them stay out because it still looks like it's daytime. And what are y'all still doing out? They ignored the question and led us into the hotel business lounge, where there were complimentary computers and faxes for guests. "Watch this," the skinnier blonde kid said, as he started quickly typing on a computer keyboard. Suddenly, the power went out through the entire hotel. "Yo, this little bastard's some type of computer hacker." "I just shut them down," he said, laughing. "It'd take them a long time to figure out what happened." "Y'all some little troublemaking motherfuckers, huh?" I said. "Let's get out of here before they blame us for this." "I'm gonna hire you guys for our Swedish street team," Alchemist told the kids, taking their phone numbers in the lobby. They were happy. After Sweden, we toured Switzerland, Norway, and Poland, and our last stop was Amsterdam, Holland, home of the world-famous red light district and legal marijuana. I filmed everything on a camcorder for our infamous Allegiance DVD. Walking through the red light district, Derek, our man from high school, was filming all the prostitutes in the windows, who closed the curtains when they saw the camera. One prostitute saw Derek filming and ran out the glass door trying to hit Derek, calling him a nigger. Back in New York, I went to the violator management office while making my usual rounds in Manhattan. 50 Cent arrived 5 minutes later, and Busta Rhymes was also there. We kicked it for a few minutes. Mona Scott, one of Chris Lighty's partners, called me into her office and asked me to consider co-starring in a straight-to-DVD film called Full Clip, along with Busta Rhymes, Exhibit, Bobby J. Thompson, and Tiny Lister, better known as Debo from the movie Friday. The script was basically a rewrite of Bucktown, the old 70s film starring Fred Williamson, of whom I was a big fan. So I signed on to the project. Filming would begin in a few months, so I had time to memorize my lines. 50 Cent's Get Rich or Die Trying debut studio album was selling like crack, over 10 million copies. He became the biggest selling rap artist next to Eminem and Nelly from St. Louis. Atlanta rappers were also on the rise. Outkast had sold millions of albums. T.I. was on the come-up, while Ludacris and Lil Jon were popular across the country at that time because they offered a new energy. 50 took full advantage of how hot he was by hooking up with Jay-Z, who plugged him in with Reebok to create a G-Unit sneaker. 50 also started a label imprint, G-Unit Records, signed West Coast rapper The Game, and planned to release a G-Unit Crew album with his artists Lloyd Banks, Tony Yayo, and Young Buck. He created G-Unit Clothing with Mark Echo. He was doing all the things that we should have done as soon as we became famous, except we were too young and foolish. In life, you have a small window to take advantage of opportunity, and if you're slow to move, the window will close. But Havoc and I are a rare breed. Our position as the most infamous is permanent, and Mobb Deep will forever be hot no matter what. All we have to do is do what we do. We pay close attention to the music industry, but we don't get caught up about anybody's success. Be yourself to the best of your ability, and your possibilities will be infinite. I finally released the Murder Music DVD through Koch Films. It felt like a huge mission accomplished to see it on shelves. My Titanic was on the market now. Havoc and I had a huge album release party on the night that America's Nightmare was released. Hundreds of people were lined up outside because the spot was at capacity and the fire department threatened to shut us down. The Game, The Lox, Black Thought from The Roots, Tretch from Naughty by Nature, Raekwon from Wu-Tang, M.O.P., many actors, comedians, and rappers showed up. There was a freestyle cypher on stage before our special performance. We were popping so much champagne and Hennessy that when it was time to perform, I was twisted. When Survival of the Fittest came on, I spit the lyrics for Shook Ones. Ron Artest was on stage with us, and Havoc was looking at me like I was crazy. Despite that error, the turnout confirmed that the world was still hungry for that Mobb Deep sound. Jadakiss, Styles P, and Sheek Louch from The Lox squeezed through the VIP area after the show to show some love. It was extremely crowded, so Havoc and I stood up on the couch to get some breathing room. Havoc spotted a video vixen he used to mess with named Erica, a good-looking Latina female who rode in the passenger seat of fabulous GT Bentley in the Breathe video. Hav pulled her up onto the couch where we were standing when he spotted another one of his chicks. "Keep an eye on Erica," he told me as he headed toward the other woman. "Alright, cool," I said. Erica was just as twisted as I was, and Havoc was gone for a long time. So I grabbed her in front of me, my arms wrapped around her waist, my hands at the front of her black cocktail dress. "What's really good, Ma?" I whispered in her ear. "Whatever," she said. I put my hand up the front of her dress and started finger popping her right there on the couch in front of everybody. She ain't had no panties on. "You coming with me," I said. "Let's go." "Cool, I'm with you," she said. I took her hand and led her to the exit. As we were walking to the parking lot, Havoc rolled up in his G-Wagon Benz. "Erica, get over here," he shouted. "Chill, son, we see you later on," I yelled. But Havoc demanded that she get into his truck. Erica let go of my hand and bounced with Hav. Wow, the vultures were out that night. I know Kiki's reading this saying, good for you." After a couple of months of preparing and rehearsing my lines, I flew to Los Angeles to film Full Clip with Busta Rhymes, Exhibit, and Tiny Lister. The production people set me up in a room at Le Meridien in West Hollywood for 2 weeks. I played an ex-Marine sniper called into town by Exhibit, who also played an ex-Marine, to take over a small town alongside Tiny Lister and Busta Rhymes' hype man Spliff Star. I learned a lot from an on-set acting coach as well as Tiny Lister, who schooled me onto the inside information about Hollywood. The entire movie, which was very low budget, was shot in an old hotel downtown Los Angeles, with tons of homeless people in makeshift tents and cardboard refrigerator boxes on the sidewalk. On set, Tiny flipped out on the production crew if they made him wait more than 5 minutes to shoot his parts. He acted just like Debo from Friday. "That's how you gotta do these fools, Prodigy." Tiny pulled me to the side and said, "You gotta remind them that you're a professional. Look at them. I bet they won't ever call me out my trailer again unless they sure they ready." And they didn't. Across the street from the hotel, the production crew rented a parking lot with 5 trailers for the main actors. Busta Rhymes and Exhibit's trailers were the biggest and most modern, with a queen-size bed, full bathroom, kitchen, dining area, dressing room, and a living room with TV, stereo, and games. Mine was a small trailer with a 3-seated couch, makeup mirror, and bathroom. Spliff Stars was right next to mine. We smoked and talked in each other's trailers and became real cool. There's a scene where he and I get into an argument while playing pool, and Tiny Lister breaks us up before we start fighting. We had to act serious, but kept busting out laughing. After the first day of filming, I called Kiki. She said she wanted to fly out to spend a week with me. She'd never been to California. The next day on set, I saw this kid Sean, one of the best tap dancers in my grandmother's dance school, whom I hadn't seen since I was 13. He'd become an actor and was playing a cop in the movie. Alchemist and Twin were in town, and we were chilling in Exhibit's trailer after wrapping up for the day. Exhibit said he was taking acting seriously and had a lot of scripts coming his way. He had just gotten a script for another movie called Gridiron Gang, starring The Rock. Exhibit was our loud label mate for years, so we've hung out on several occasions. He invited us to his crib. Alchemist had somewhere to go, but Twin and I hopped in Exhibit's Hummer to his modern, multi-level house in the hills. We played video games in the living room and met Exhibit's son and his woman. Busta Rhymes showed up an hour later, along with Paul Rosenberg, Alchemist and Eminem's manager. Exhibit, who was the host of MTV's Pimp My Ride, took us into his garage and showed us his 6'4" Impala lowrider. The next day, I strolled around the Beverly Center Mall with 40 Glock and his boys, buying white tees and sneakers and checking out ladies. A petite, light-skinned female with blonde hair, a sun visor, and a tennis skirt so short you could see her panties was going up the escalator. I left the group of 12 dudes I was with and went up behind her. When we got to the top, I asked her name. Keisha, she said. Keisha was beautiful. When I was typing her number into my phone, 40 Glock and all the homies walked up. Keisha got a little nervous, but then she realized they were with me and calmed down. I called Keisha as soon as we got back to the room. 40 Glock kept saying that I should have brought her back with me. What's up, it's P. Where you at? On my way back to the studio, Keisha said. I've got a session today. What, do you rap or something? What you do? I asked. I sing. I'm doing a song for the Barbershop 2 soundtrack. You should come hang out with me over here. A word? We just did a song for that soundtrack. I got a group called Mobb. Yeah, I know who you are, she said. Come to my studio session so you can hear my songs. Damn, I can't. I'm doing a movie out here and I gotta breeze by the set soon. Why you don't stop by my hotel so we can kick it before your session? Can't. I'm late. Why don't you stop by before you go to the movie set? We went back and forth on the phone a few times that day, but that was all. After the first week of filming, I flew in my lady Kiki to be with me. Kiki got out the cab from the airport and walked through the trailer parking lot in a tight jogging suit that you could almost see through. Spliff Star and others were trying to talk to her because they didn't know she was coming to see me. She knocked on the trailer door and we hugged and kissed. She told me right away about everybody who tried to talk to her on her way in. Kiki always told me when people I know try to talk to her. It didn't bother me at all because Kiki's so beautiful that every man alive would try if he had enough heart. I enjoyed it. It meant I was doing something right. I knew Kiki probably had her little things on the side, but she was serious only about me. The other fools were just for play. Even though I messed around with a lot of other women while I was with my boys, I turned down the baddest female to stay with my woman because I loved her. Those other females were meaningless. Kiki watched me on the set that day. Then we took it back to the hotel. The next morning, after room service breakfast, I saw Split Star in the lobby. He told me the front desk had been robbed the night before. 2 dudes with shotguns rushed the hotel office and stole a few $1,000s. After sharing that story, Spliff told me that Cameron was out front. Cameron was standing outside with his man Jim Jones. I hadn't seen Cam since we did Losing Weight together. I was wearing a white and pink striped polo shirt I bought from my man Keith's store in Harlem. White shorts, white felines, and my infamous Records 40-inch chain. Cam introduced me to Jim and told me that he saw my movie Murder Music and liked it. I didn't want to leave Kiki by herself for too long, so we talked briefly. I said peace to Cam and Jim and went back upstairs. It seemed like after Cameron saw me rocking my pink polo shirt, he went pink crazy. I was known to throw on a pink polo shirt every now and again since 1989. I went to high school in Manhattan with a lot of Brooklyn dudes who were in gangs like Decepticons and Lowlives. That's where the trend of hood niggas rocking pink started. Brooklyn dudes wore pink polo sweaters, purple, orange, and yellow. Brooklyn motherfuckers loved polo when I was in high school. I just kept the trend going in 2003. Now maybe it's just a coincidence, but I never saw Cameron wear pink before that day in LA. A few days after Kiki left to get back to our kids, we finished filming. Alchemist, Twin, and I drove to Las Vegas to chill for a few days before flying back to New York. But before we hit the highway for Vegas, we stopped at Alchemist's homeboy, Mr. Cartoon's, tattoo and car shop to get my first Mr. Cartoon tat. I wanted half an angel, half a demon on the back of my neck, I told him. On our way to Vegas, we drove through the Death Valley Desert. where the average temperature is over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. But as we drove through, we saw snow all across the desert. Yes, snow. It was extremely rare for it to snow in Death Valley. I took it as a sign that major changes in our lives were about to take place. We checked into the Hilton Hotel and Casino. Alchemist was a crap table junkie. He taught me how to play. I'm not a gambler because I don't like giving away my money, but sometimes I blow a few thousand hoping to win. Not on that trip. I turned $300 into $800 playing the dollar slots, kept gambling, and ended up with $280. Alchemist was another story. That boy stood at the crap table for 8 hours straight, winning and losing, losing and winning, with a crazed zombie look on his face. Back home, our new album was doing well, but Jive suddenly didn't want to give us control of the marketing and promotion budget. I had a list of promotional items that I wanted to give away at our concerts and other events, but the marketing team didn't seem excited about the album anymore. America's Nightmare sold roughly 400,000 copies and was creeping its way to gold. So it was strange to see that Jive was losing interest so fast. But Jive was used to selling millions of albums with Britney Spears, R. Kelly, NSYNC, and others. Mobb Deep was small-time sales compared to their major selling artists. I was really upset with Jive and Chris Lighty because I had the know-how to help America's Nightmare sell triple the amount that it sold. All I needed was my marketing and promotion plan approved and for Jive to cut the check. This was a clear sign that the deal wouldn't last long. I miss Loud Records and Steve Rifkin. Steve understood the power of street promo. Not corporate promo, street promo. Together we understood our core audience and exactly how to reach them. Oh well. We had to make the best of the hand we were dealt. It was 3 a.m. and I just made the 40-minute drive home from our Queens studio to Rockland. Kiki and the kids were fast asleep, and I was tired but couldn't fall asleep. I hooked up my son's PlayStation to my bedroom TV and played Freedom Fighters until heaviness crept under my eyelids at 4:30 a.m. It was a crisp, clear night, so I could see the stars and the moon from the large window next to our bed that looked down on the whole block. Our mountaintop home was the highest on our block. We didn't have curtains or blinds covering that window because nobody could see in. We could see out. Suddenly, all the power went out. I looked out the window and saw that the whole block was blacked out, so I decided to go to bed. As I lay down next to Kiki, a bright white light beamed into our bedroom window. It looked like a police helicopter's searchlight, except it was silent. Oh shit, are the police looking for somebody over here? Kiki, get up. I reached over to wake Kiki. Look at this shit. The bright white beam began changing colors. Red, yellow, green, blue, orange, repeating randomly. Do you see this shit? I asked. What the fuck is that? Kiki said. Do you see this shit? Yes. Go look out the window and see what that is, she said. I'm not going near that window. I knew what it was. A UFO was hovering over our crib, shining light beams into our bedroom. Holy shit. After 3 or 4 minutes, the night sky turned black again. I was happy that Kiki was with me, so I had a witness this time. When the sky turned black again, a feeling of fear took over. Something is in our house. And the power came back on. I peeked down at the other houses on our block, and all the power was back on. Kiki must have had the same feeling that I had. Go check on the kids, she said. I'm not going to check on shit, I replied. I was shook. Nigga, go check on the kids, she barked. You go, I said. But I got the shotgun from the closet, woke the kids up, and brought them into our room. What's going on? The kids asked, half asleep. Mommy and I just seen a UFO, I told them. Where? Tasia said. I want to see it too. "It's gone now," Kiki said. "Get in our bed." I sat on the edge of the bed with the shotgun in my hands as my family slept, still in shock. Maybe my fear was just guilt because I wasn't living right, and subconsciously I thought I was in trouble. Or maybe it was all the movies I'd seen. At 6 a.m., as the sun started shining, I went to sleep. I had been begging and praying for another sign from the Most High, and for a witness to see it with me. After Kiki and I had that extremely close encounter, I was convinced that the ancient Egyptian teachings that Dr. York revealed in his books were facts beyond a shadow of a doubt. I knew the truth about many of life's mysteries, but I was stuck smoking, drinking, and not walking a straight line that I was taught to follow when I knew better. I felt like a fallen angel. The UFO came to my house to show me the light, as if to say, "Wake up, nigga. Snap out of it. We are real, and you are important to us. Okay, gotta go for now. Hope you're ready when we come back." I'm not talking about little green Martians and all that science fiction crap. So say the prodigy believes in little green men from Mars routine. It's much deeper than you know. Only deal with the truth and facts that have been concealed from humans of all races, because discovering these facts will collapse the mountain of lies and corruption. A mind-boggling amount of misinformation is released through movies, books, religion, education, and news to confuse us. Every race of people has its own truth, history, and origin. Black people's ancient ancestors don't share the same mental, physical, or spiritual composition as us. They were far more advanced. But they created us in their likeness, and we carried on their traits, many of which were cut off or watered down due to our own foolish ways, crossbreeding with other races. Melanin has very powerful physical and spiritual properties, and the mental enslavement and brainwashing that we were put through. When people like myself discover the truth and attempt to share it with others, some will say, "Prodigy is a racist conspiracy theorist. He watches too much science fiction. He's a wacko." I was receiving the gift of enlightenment from my ancient black ancestors, the Most High, and the universe. But as much as I thought I knew, I had a lot to learn about self-control. I was acting like a late baby, too comfortable in mommy's warm, dark stomach to come out and deal with reality. It was way beyond 9 months, and I was refusing to be born. Back in Fantasyland, home of the dumb, deaf, blind, and blissfully ignorant, Mobb booked a concert in a small town near Albany called Cohoes. Havoc, Alchemist, Twin, Noy, Derek, this tall security guard with dreads, and I were driven in a turtle-top van outfitted with a TV, DVD player, and a PlayStation 4 hours upstate. Derek was acting as our road manager and went to collect the payment from the venue before we walked in. 10 minutes later, he said the promoter didn't have all the bread yet because they were still collecting the money from the door. So we found a parking spot in the cut and waited in the van until they were ready. Alchemist lit a blunt in the meantime. 20 minutes later, a cop knocked on the passenger window while a security guard was seated. "Oh shit, put the weed out," we said, scrambling. Twin lit a cigarette to hide the smell. The security guard rolled down the window. "What are you doing over here?" the cop asked. "We're performing at the club, just waiting for the promoter to pay us before we head inside," the security guard explained. "Oh yeah? So why do I smell marijuana?" the cop asked. "No, that's just cigarette smoke. No marijuana over here," the security guard replied. "We're just waiting to do our concert." "Yeah, I smell marijuana," the cop said. "We'll see when the canine gets here. Turn the vehicle off." He called the canine unit, the police dogs that sniff for drugs. Ah, man. I had a .25 caliber in my jacket pocket, my usual gun for clubs, shows, or out of town. I quickly put the gun in my Timberland boot under my right foot. Squad cars rolled up within a few minutes. Alchemist pulled a big bag of weed, an ounce of kush, from his jacket. "Yo, take this for me, son," he said to Twin, seated beside him. "Hold this." Twin looked at the size of the bag and said, "I'm not going down for all that. I'm not taking that shit. You bugging, son." Twin and Alchemist quietly argued over who should take the weed. In the past, Twin told Alchemist that if they were ever in a situation like this, Twin would take the weight. But Twin meant a 20 or 50 bag, not the Ziploc pillow that Alchemist pulled out. "Why would you bring that much anyway?" Twin asked. "It's not like we were going away for a week." "Fuck it, forget it," Alchemist said, putting the pillow back into his pocket. A cop approached the van, shining his flashlight. "Everybody step out the van," he ordered, "one at a time." Alchemist got out first. The cop pulled the Ziploc weed pillow from Al's pocket and held it in the air for the other cops to see. I was relieved that the cop didn't ask Al to take off his sneakers. I got out next. The cop frisked me, searched my pockets, and was done. That was a close call, I thought. "What are those, Timberlands?" he said, looking down at my boots. "Yeah." "Take your boots off." Damn. I took off my Timbs and prepared myself mentally. "He got a gun in his boot," cop alerted the other cops. They pulled out their guns and made us lie on the ground, dragged everybody else out the van, cuffed us, and searched the vehicle. The security guard with the dreads started sobbing uncontrollably. "I can't go to jail, man. Please, I got kids," he pleaded. "I didn't do anything." Twin Noyd and I laughed. It was funny to see a 6'10", 300-pound fool cry. The driver, an unassuming older black man, had a duffel bag in the back of the van. The cops searched the bag and found crack cocaine and a box of 9mm bullets. We looked at each other like, crack? Bullets? That's why the dude was speeding so fast the entire drive upstate. He was high on crack. The cops must have been happy as hell. At the precinct, Havoc, Noyd, Twin, Derek, and the security guard were released, and they kept Alchemist, the driver, and me. Twin agreed to call Kiki and contact my lawyer, Bob Kalina. I fell asleep on a hardwood bench attached to the cell wall. The next morning, the judge let Alchemist go without bail and hit me with $20,000 bail. Until I could get the money, I was transferred to the Albany County Jail, 20 minutes away from the precinct. After I was processed, they handed me a jumpsuit, jail shoes that looked like Vans skateboard sneakers, sheets, a blanket, mug, toothbrush, toothpaste, and a rule book, and directed me to my tier. "Yo, that's Prodigy," a few inmates yelled out. "No, that's Havoc, nigga, Mobb deep." As I walked to my cell, I noticed the van driver a few cells down from mine, sweating bullets like he was going through withdrawal from his crack habit. He looked scared. "Are you okay?" I asked, stopping at his cell gate. Yeah, I'm all right," he said, looking at me as if he couldn't recognize me. "I'm about to put my shit in my cell and use the jack," I said, meaning the phone. "You want me to make a call for you?" "Yeah, please," he said. He told me he didn't have anything to write with, so I asked one of the inmates to borrow a pencil and wrote down his number. I called Kiki. She cursed me out for getting locked up again and told me that she and Havoc were putting my bail together. Then I called Mr. Crackman's number, but nobody picked up. Oh well. I told him to be easy and try to calm his nerves. Gave homeboy his pencil back and locked in. Hours later, the chow wagon came around with dinner and the officer called my name, saying I was bailed out. Yes. Back in the city, I stopped in the Bronx to see Derek, who'd driven the van back from Albany and parked it in a lot a few blocks from his apartment building. Derek and I walked over to the lot so I can get some CDs and DVDs that I left in the van. We looked at each other and couldn't resist the temptation. Yes, we took everything of value out of that vehicle. We gutted it out. The TV, PlayStation, DVD players, stereo speakers, and navigation system. Thank you, goodbye. A few days later, I called Bob Kalina.
I'm sitting here looking at your address, and guess what?
Bob said.
You live around the corner from me. I live in Pomona, too. My guy in Albany is trying to work out a deal because it's looking like an illegal search. We'll see. I'll pick you up and we'll drive to the courthouse together if you want.
Sounds good, I said. He told me the court date would be in 2 weeks. When I finished my call with Bob Kalina, I got a call from my mother.
Chaka, I just read on the internet that you got arrested with a gun and crack. Are you smoking crack?
What? Hell no, Ma, I said. The driver had crack in his bag, not me.
Oh, thank God.
The media was making it seem like I was smoking crack. Ha! The next morning, Kiki asked me to go to the supermarket. My Denali needed gas, so I pulled in the Exxon on Route 59, 2 minutes from my house. While I was pumping gas, a black BMW X5 truck with tinted windows pulled into the station and stopped suddenly while it was headed toward the pumps, backed up, then pulled up next to the driver's side of my truck. I opened my passenger door and discreetly put my 9mm Ruger on my waist. Yes, I was still carrying guns after I just got arrested for one a few days before. 2.2s, 9s, 25s, and 45 calibers. My life don't stop just because I got arrested. The drama doesn't stop, I reminded myself. Wherever and whenever, never get caught slipping. A dark-skinned dude with dreads hopped out the X5. Yo, Prodigy, what up, man? He walked toward me. My name is Ronnie. I seen you around the town. I'm from Spring Valley. I'm working on a knockout DVD. A lot of hood fights and shit like that. I've got my camera in the truck, if you don't mind doing a drop for me. Knockout DVD? Is he gonna try to knock me out on camera? See, this is why I got a gun on my waist for fools like this, I thought to myself. No problem, I said. Get your camera. What's the name of your DVD? Paper Chase, he said, camera in hand. Yo, what's up? This the head nigga in charge, Prodigy from the infamous Mobb Deep. You are now watching the Paper Chase DVD. Peace. After recording the drop, Ronnie gave me one of his DVDs, and I got in my truck and bounced. 2 weeks later, my Albany case was dropped to a misdemeanor and dismissed. I was ordered to pay a fine and stay out of trouble for 2 years. I don't know how Bob Kalina and his Albany lawyer friend pulled it off. Your luck is gonna run out, Kiki said. You need to stop getting arrested with those guns. Even Twin would say, you got bagged with mad hammers and stay beating the cases. Niggas gonna think you snitching soon, son. Snitch? Never. But my luck was damn sure about to run out. When you build an extensive criminal record, after a while the judge and prosecutor can hit you based on your history. My criminal history cup was about to spill over. We booked a show in Connecticut with 50 Cent, Mobb Deep and G-Unit's first performance together. I was real excited. The promoter rented a turtle top van as usual and a driver. I decided to drive my white Yukon Denali. I wasn't bringing a gun, but I was leery about hired drivers since our last one had crack and bullets in his van. The whole crew bought navy blue t-shirts and bandanas to wear for the show. No gang significance. We just wanted to look in sync since this was an important show. Little Lord, Havoc, Rondu, Fly, and Derek rode in the van. Illa G, Alchemist, and I took my truck. We left Manhattan at 10 p.m. and got to the club at midnight. It was packed. In the dressing room upstairs, Havoc, Alchemist, and I discussed our set list while eating sandwiches and drinking beers. Alchemist set up and brought us our mics. Showtime. My favorite song to perform from America's Nightmare was When You Hear Her, produced by Alchemist, because it sounds incredible banging through those concert speakers. I had suggested that Al make a beat out of the score music from the movie Scarface. Every time Al Pacino's character, Tony Montana, got angry, this crazy keyboard sound came on. I always wanted to make a beat out of that, so Alchemist finally did it. Fly, Rondu, and Derek were waiting in the dressing room after the show with some real pretty Puerto Rican ladies they found in the crowd who wanted to meet us. We took pictures, then Havoc and I sat down on the couch to catch our breath and cool off. I always ended up out of breath and soaking wet from sweating while performing, feeding off the crowd's energy, so I had to rest for 20 minutes after shows. None of us had seen 50 in concert before, so we went downstairs to watch. Last to leave the dressing room, I approached the staircase. One flight down, U-turn to the right, then another flight down. The G-Unit entourage was on their way up and kept to my left as the Mobb Deep entourage headed down on my right. As I started my descent down the right side of the stairs, a big white security guard in a G-Unit t-shirt put his arm across my path and held onto the staircase railing so I couldn't go past him. "You can't come down," he said. "G-Unit is coming up." What? Well, my boys just walked down past him and he decided to stop me? I looked at him like he'd lost his mind. "My people were going downstairs," I said. "Excuse me." He stiffened his grip on the railing. "You have to wait. G-Unit is coming up," he said, stopping the stairwell traffic. I was wearing my big platinum Infamous Records chain, flooded with diamonds. This fool can't recognize me? "Man, get out my way," I said, flung his arm out my way, and continued down the steps. He made some disrespectful comment as I shoved past him, so I turned and shouted, "Man, shut the fuck up." Someone was tapping my shoulder. It was 50. He was trying to say what's up and give me a pound, but I didn't notice because I was arguing with that fool. "What up, man?" "My bad, man," I said. "This bitch-ass nigga trying to stop me from coming down." "What up, P? You good?" 50 said. "Yeah, we about to watch you perform, man." I proceeded to catch up with my boys. As I went down the last flight, I tried to calm down, but the security guard reached through the railing, grabbed my arm, and yanked it hard as if he was trying to pull it out the socket. "I'll fuck your punk ass up," I shouted, but he walked into the dressing room upstairs. We found a spot in the corner with a good view of the stage. It took 10 minutes to get my mind off what had just happened. I didn't calm down until DJ Who Kid started 50's show with "What Up, Gangsta," and 50 and his entourage ran on stage. We were just as hyped as the fans in the crowd. After the song, some idiot in the front row threw a drink in a plastic cup at 50 and hit him in the chest. 50 took off his G-Unit spinning chain, handed it to one of his boys, jumped in the front row and started beating the culprit. Then jumped back onto the stage and continued his show. The crowd went nuts. Surveying my surroundings as the next song started, I saw the big white security guard in the crowd to my right. I couldn't resist. "Hey yo, do you know who I am?" I asked. "Look, I'm sorry, man. It was a misunderstanding," he said. "Hey, what the fuck is your problem? You stupid or something?" "It's just a misunderstanding," he said. "I apologize, man." "Just get over it and enjoy the show. Forget about it," I told myself, though I was pissed. This dude tried to rip my fucking arm off. I lightly pushed his chest as I went to turn back to the show. He grabbed my arm again and yanked it the same way. Without delay, Little Lord punched him in the mouth, and Rondu hit him with a left and a right to the face. I put my rose gold Rolex and chain in my pocket and waited for an opening so I can get my punches in too. But my boys beat him into the corner next to Fly, then Fly treated his face like a punching bag. Fly, Little Lord, and Rondu stepped back to see if he'd fall or fight. The opening I was looking for. I hit him with an uppercut left to his mouth, and his tooth dug in my knuckle. Then I hit him with an overhand right to the side of his jaw and dropped his ass. His G-Unit shirt was hanging off of him, and his pants was around his knees. We ran out the exit door to avoid getting locked up because we had just beat up one of the club's security guards. From the corner of my left eye, as we were running out, I saw the G-Unit crew jump off the stage. Illa G and I jumped into my truck. Illa took the wheel, and the others hopped into the turtle top van. My left knuckle felt broken and was dripping blood. As I looked out the window to the right, about 10 G-Unit crew members ran outside. "Where they at? Who was it?" they shouted. One looked at me through the truck window while I was shaking my hand in pain. "Who was it? It was Prodigy?" he asked his boy. I would soon learn his name was Halim. "Come on, man, forget it," he said. "It was just Prodigy." I then realized that the guard we beat up was G-Unit security. A police squad car idled at the parking lot exit, waiting for traffic to move to pull out. So we had to wait. 10 G-Unit dudes, some of whom wanted to retaliate, stood scattered around our cars. The squad car pulled out, and some of the G-Unit dudes were in the way of the turtle top van. Little Lord opened the double doors and shouted, "Hey, yo, get the fuck from in front of this van before I start laying niggas down." He was bluffing like he had a gun, but none of us had guns that night. Lord's bluff worked. We hit the highway headed home, my hand throbbing. I called DJ Who Kid to apologize to 50 for beating up his security guard. I didn't know the guy was with them. I thought he worked for the club. I should have guessed from his G-Unit t-shirt. Who Kid connected me with 50. "What up?" 50 said. "What happened?" "Yo, first off, I didn't know he was working for you. I thought he was the club security," I said. "You saw me arguing with him on the stairs. He put his hands on me, so we beat him up. You guys would have done the same thing if somebody put their hands on you." "No doubt. Don't even worry about it, Pete. It's all good," 50 said. "You're okay, right?" Yeah, I'm good." "All right, cool. I'll speak with you later." And that was that. My hand swelled like a Mickey Mouse glove the next morning and kept bleeding slightly. The swelling didn't go down, and after a few days, my hand took on a greenish tint. I went to the emergency room, and the doctor told me that it wasn't broken, but it was infected. She said the human mouth had more germs than the dog's mouth, and if I had waited any longer, they might have had to cut my hand off. That dirty mouth security guard almost cost me my hand. Back to normal after a week of antibiotics, I decided from that point on to aim for the nose instead of the mouth. New York radio station Hot 97 was promoting the free Nas concert in Central Park. Wow, I thought when I heard the ad. This is going to be a major event. The only major Central Park concert I could remember was when my grandmother did the Diana Ross show, and I was too scared to go on stage. The next thing that popped into my mind was, Mobb Deep needs to be a part of that concert. Nas and I were beefing at that time because of his Build and Destroy song. He was trying to discredit me, and I was just defending myself. I never had anything against Nas. In fact, I loved him like a friend and mentor until he showed his true jealous, envious, and greedy colors. Then I had to flip on him. I still loved him. But when I heard about the Central Park event, my business mind kicked in. "Yo, let's holler at son and tell him we want to perform," I told Havoc. "After you shitted on him, he probably won't do it," Havoc said. I reminded Havoc that Nas took shots at me first, and I only did what I was supposed to do in retaliation. Plus, it was petty. I told Lil Lord to reach out to Nas's boy, Tim Lord, and find out what was up. Little Lord said the same thing Havoc said. "Okay, I'll try," he said. "I doubt it, though." A week later, Tim Lord called back and said Nas agreed. 4th of July weekend 2004, I was drinking Incredible Hulks with Illa G and his boys Black M and Ant at Brooklyn Drinks in Bed-Stuy, a bar where we were regulars down the block from Woodhull Hospital. It was great to have Illa back home from his 5-year bid in Virginia when he got caught in that house raid. After Brooklyn Drinks, we drove to Alchemist's crib in Manhattan to link with Twin, Al, and Al's brother Neil Diamond to celebrate Illa being free and Independence Day. Alchemist made a deal with Koch Records to release an album, First Infantry, and had received his advance, so he splurged on a new Porsche SUV. Al drove his Porsche, and I took my Denali XL to Club Chaos on Avenue A in the Lower East Side. The bouncers let us in with no problem, and it was packed inside. DJ Cutmaster C from Queens was spinning. We went straight to the bar and ordered a round of drinks. Cutmaster C walked from the DJ booth over to us. "What's up, P? I want to introduce you to my man," he said. A little light-skinned dude beside him said, "Yeah, I was locked up with your man's little Lord from Queensbridge." He started name-dropping people from QB. "My name is Webb. Yo, why you can't do a song with my artist Joe Budden?" "I can't do a song with Joe Budden?" The way he said it turned me off. Nobody ever asked me to do a song with him. Who said I can't do a song with him? I looked at that clown like he had 4 heads. "Your man right here know how to get at me if y'all need a song," I said, pointing to Cutmaster C. Then I gave both of them my back. I hadn't even gotten to take a sip of my drink yet. There were some good-looking ladies in the spot, and a few of them started to creep their way over to us. Just as I was about to reach out and grab the hand of one who was standing in arm's reach, somebody slapped the drink out my hand. When I turned, it was Webb, being held back by his boys. I took off my thick necklace and wrapped it around my fist like brass knuckles. Security ran over and jumped between us. They pushed Webb and his boys to the exit. "Let's go outside and handle these clowns," I told Illa and Twin. Illa was on parole and didn't want to violate, and I didn't blame him. "You know my situation. If you want to go get them, I'm with you," Illa said. "Let's go right now," I said. Outside, they were nowhere to be found. I figured they were still in the club, and I walked to the corner to get my nickel-plated 25 from my truck. My man Black M saw me and said, "Nah, give me that. You ain't shooting nobody. That's my job. You rap, I shoot." We waited across the street from the club for 10 minutes when these fools came stumbling out the front door. Security body slammed one of them on the sidewalk. Twin ran across the street and snatched the necklace off the kid lying on the concrete, and Illa grabbed a 40-ounce beer bottle from the garbage and threw it like a football at one of the others, hitting him dead in the face. Black M grabbed Webb, trying to snatch his chain, but got a handful of shirt instead. Black M put the gun to Webb's stomach and squeezed 2 shots. Webb spun around to free himself and avoided both shots. He and his boys ran away at top speed. We hopped into the trucks and peeled off. Wow, Club Chaos was chaos for real, and the fireworks exploded that 4th of July. The following night, I had a copy of a popular DVD street magazine called Smack DVD at the studio, featuring an interview with an up-and-coming rapper from Spring Valley, New York, named Saigon. Alchemist had made a couple of tracks for Saigon, but I hadn't heard any music from him that grabbed my attention. But while Havoc, Little Lord, Fly, and I were watching his Smack DVD interview, Saigon did something that grabbed all of our attention. Pulling out an America's Nightmare CD, Saigon said, "I'm tired of washed up rappers like these niggas right here," holding up our album cover so the camera can get a good view. "All these old ass rap motherfuckers need to give it up and make room for the new artists. I'm tired of the same old bullshit." Saigon sparked a lighter, set our album cover on fire, dropped it to the ground along with the actual CD, and stomped it with his boot. Wow. We were in shock. We never did anything to Saigon. That clown wasn't even on our radar. He was obviously just trying to make a name for himself. It became Saigon hunting season. A few days after seeing the Smack DVD, Alchemist's brother Neil had a small birthday party in downtown Manhattan's Tribeca neighborhood. Ron Du from Queensbridge, Godfather, Gotti, Twin, Alchemist, and I were drinking Coronas in the back of the bar when Saigon walked into the spot. Oh man, here we go. The 9mm Ruger on my hip was concealed under my shirt and leather jacket. Look who just walked in, I tapped Ron Du and told him. It's Saigon. Godfather walked over and told me the same thing. Saigon spotted us staring at him, so he walked straight up to me. Yo, Pete, I want to apologize to you about that Smack DVD. I know you must have heard about it by now, he said, looking like a scared puppy with his tail between his legs. I'm a big fan of Mobb Deep. I don't know what was wrong with me, man. I said some shit I shouldn't have said. That was some real disrespectful shit you did, man. What's up with you, man? I said. Yo, I swear I'm a fan of your shit. I love Mobb Deep, he replied. Please forgive me, P. I fucked up. I could step on this clown like a roach if I wanted to, I thought. If he'd have spoken with the slightest bit of aggression in his voice, I would have snapped on Saigon. But that clown was chirping away like the bird-ass nigga he was, singing sweet songs of forgive me. Being the intelligent, compassionate person that I am, I told him, you know what? Forget about it. We all say things that we regret sometimes. Don't sweat it. We good. Listen, I just want you to know that I really love Mobb Deep. Ask Alchemist, I'm your biggest fan, Saigon chirped. All right, man. Don't sweat it, I said. It's a small thing to a giant. I really am a fan, no bullshit. I felt stupid when I saw that DVD. I don't have no problems with y'all. You ain't gotta explain all that. It's over, I said. We good. I'm a fan, P, he kept chirping. I'm just a big fan. Ron Du sipped his beer, staring at Saigon as he said it again. I grew up on your music. I love Mobb Deep. Then Ron Du cut him off. Man, shut the fuck up and get away from us before we hurt you, nigga. There was a long silence. Saigon looked at Ron Du, looked at me, then turned and walked out of the bar. We all laughed. Come on, we can't let him walk outside after that, I told Ron Du. Let's make sure he doesn't try to ambush us. A foolish, cocky person would have laughed and continued partying because Saigon looked like a coward. But I knew better than to beef with a person and to let him go outside without following him. That person could be hiding outside with a gun, waiting. So we walked outside right behind him. Yo, these dudes is frontin', son. Saigon was running his motor mouth to his boys. He turned and saw Ron Du and continued his tough guy act because his boys were watching. Ron Du stood in front of Saigon looking down at him. What's up, nigga? What you want to do? Ron Du asked. You pussy. Yo, I ain't got no beef with y'all niggas. Back up off me. I'm trying to leave, he said with bass in his tone. Saigon's boys pulled him away when Ron Du was in his face calling him pussy. I ain't got no beef with you, P, but I'm gonna see your boy right here, Saigon said, motioning to Ron Du with his finger. Ron Du was seconds away from punching Saigon. Come on, let's bounce. I'm gonna end up clapping one of these niggas, I told Ron Du. They're not built like that. Let's go. I'm not into fighting. I'm a gunman. I'm guaranteed to shoot somebody if I got my gun. A very ignorant, negative mentality, but that's just how I was. So I tried my best to avoid shit like that. I'm gonna see you, nigga, Saigon screamed as we walked to my truck. I'm gonna see you again. You soft, nigga. Shut your fucking mouth before you get hurt, Godfather shouted back. Saigon started walking slowly towards us. So I walked back over to him. Go home, man. I told you it was all good, but you keep talking, I said. You making it a problem. Your boy tried to play me. If he wants to fight, then we can fight, Saigon said. Niggas ain't trying to fight, son, I said, grabbing Saigon's left hand and tapping it on the gun on my hip. Just go home, nigga, you bugging right now. Saigon finally shut up. It was drizzling rain on the day of the Central Park concert. Slowly, our crew of 7, Have, Fly, Rondu, Little Lord, his 2 boys from Marcy Projects, and I made our way through 3 crowded police barricaded checkpoints. Security guards led us to Nas's trailer. I knocked on the door while the rest of the crew stood outside. Nas's woman, Khalees, was sitting on the counter with a camcorder in her hand, filming me as I walked in. Nas, his boys from Queensbridge, Super Ed, and Fakey was sitting around talking. Yo, what up, nigga? I greeted Nas. You don't love me no more, Nas said. Why do you think we came here? I miss doing songs with you, nigga. Yeah, right, you don't love me no more, he said, playing around. Okay, whatever, man, I said. Fakey walked over and said, P, we need to talk. Then a security guard knocked on the door and opened it. It's showtime. Nas and Khalees walked ahead of us so they could hurry to the stage. Walking behind them, Fakey said again, Yo, P, we need to talk, putting his arm around my shoulder for privacy. What's up with you making these songs dissing worming all of us? You already know what's up with all that. Y'all did what y'all did, and I did what I did. What, you thought I wasn't gonna say nothing back? I said. After Build and Destroy and Ether, Nas and Fakey started saying slick shit about me on songs and being disrespectful. So naturally, I did the same to them. Now that clown Fakey was confronting me about it. Lil Lord walked over. Don't talk to that bitch ass nigga. Fuck him. You ain't got nothing to say to him, he told me. Fakey looked over at Little Lord, then looked back at me and said, Your man here is about to get you into some shit. See, I don't got no problem with you, P, but your man here is about to cause a problem. Then Fakey stepped away from me, and he and Little started arguing. What you say, nigga? Fakey said. What you wanna do? Nas and Khalees were way ahead of us now, heading toward the backstage gate. Fakey quickly reached in his pocket and pulled out his Nextel walkie-talkie phone and started chirping people backstage. Yo, son, these niggas think they gangster. Get everybody together and meet me at the gate right now, he said. Nigga, please. Fakey chirped again. Hurry up and tell niggas to come to the gate now. He looked at us and said, We gonna see who tough now. When we get backstage, we'll see. Little Lord said, Cool, let's see. Nas and Khalees were already inside the 12-foot-tall white gate leading backstage. When the security guard opened the gate for us, 20 dudes were waiting for us to walk in. Assuming that they were the dudes that Fakey was chirping, Little Lord and his 2 boys from Brooklyn punched the closest ones in the face, then another, then another. Everybody started brawling. Somebody slammed the gate shut behind us, locking Havoc and Fly outside. It was just 5 of us against 20. Fakey walked in before all of us and then disappeared in all the commotion. I noticed that for some strange reason, the 20 dudes and Fakey were all wearing dark green promotional t-shirts for Sean's album, Godfather Buried Alive. Sean was in prison serving 10 years for a shooting inside a Manhattan club with Puff Daddy. Fakey must have been helping promote Sean's album, so anybody with a Sean t-shirt was immediately considered an enemy and a target. As Rondu and I pushed and punched our way further inside the backstage area, Rondu looked at me, grabbed my arm, then pushed me to the side out of harm's way, shoving me right into Nas, who was watching the fight. My first instinct was to break Nas' face, but instead I asked him, Hey, yo, what's up with all this, man? You set us up? Nas acted like he couldn't hear me. Khalees sat on the edge of the stage, secretly filming the fight. I looked around for Fakey, but didn't see him anywhere. Suddenly, all the Shine t-shirts started scampering away. Little Lord's 2 Brooklyn boys had knives out, blood dripping from them. "Come on, where y'all going?" They taunted the Shine dudes, some of whom were taking their Shine t-shirts off and pressing them to their stomachs, chests, and heads to stop the bleeding. "Come on!" I spotted Fakey hiding behind a staircase leading to the stage. Just as the fighting stopped, Tim Lord handed Nas a microphone, and Nas began his show with New York State of Mind. Little Lord and Rondu walked over and asked if I was okay. "Yeah," I said. "Look at Fakey hiding behind the stairs." "Pussy," they barked at him. "What's up now?" Fakey stayed quiet behind the stairs and just looked at us. Tim Lord walked over and gave me a microphone. He told me to wait on the staircase to get cued in. Halfway up the stairs, I yelled at Rondu, "Hey yo, where's Havoc? Get Hav!" 5 plainclothes police officers ran backstage. One of the cops grabbed a big closed umbrella from a picnic table and started swinging it between my people and Fakey's in an attempt to keep them separated. Little Lord's boys from Brooklyn still had their knives out in front of the cops, and the cops looked scared and didn't do anything about it. Khalees kept filming the action backstage, then turning the camera towards Nas performing. Havoc and Fly made their way to the steps where I was sitting. Busta Rhymes and Q-Tip were standing off to the side during the whole fight. Busta walked up to me and said, "Yo, y'all niggas is crazy, man. Why y'all fighting each other? I saw the whole shit." "Hey, shit happens," I said. "Y'all Queensbridge niggas is crazy," Busta said. Q-Tip just shook his head, gave us a pound, then ran on stage to perform the song One Love with Nas. Tim Lord gave Havoc a mic and told us we were up after Q-Tip. The only thing on my mind was, what if these niggas try to pull some bullshit while we performing? The music stopped. "I want to bring out some very special guests," Nas announced as his DJ LES dropped the beat for Eye for Eye. The crowd went crazy. That was the first time we ever performed that song together, live, though we were missing Raekwon from Wu-Tang. After we performed our single, Got It Twisted, from America's Nightmare, Nas stood between Havoc and me with his arm around our shoulders, kissed us both on the cheek, and told the crowd, "I love Mobb Deep, these my niggas." We regrouped with our boys backstage. "We gotta pay attention walking out of the park because these niggas might try to ambush us," Little Lord said, but nothing happened. Later that night, as I told Kiki about what had happened, I wondered, did Nas set that whole shit up? Or was that just Fakey? Why was Khalees taping it all? Fakey better hope Nas never released that footage, because it would be proof that he's a bird and couldn't back it up when real niggas called his bluff. Soon after that Central Park concert, we took a few of our boys to a big DJ convention in Puerto Rico. The night we arrived, we bumped into Styles P and Jadakiss from the Lox and Pharrell from the Neptunes. Fabulous stepped out of a limo with a large entourage and a good-looking female in a long white mink coat. He also had that kid Webb, whom we almost shot on the 4th of July with him. The woman in the mink, Gloria Velez, the famous video vixen and baby mother of Aaron Hall from Guy, kept peeking over at me while standing with Fabulous, who was doing an on-camera interview. I motioned for her to come over, and she did. I asked her name, as if I didn't know, and we exchanged numbers. I never met Gloria before, but called her over to show Webb that I didn't give a fuck that she was with them. Webb was watching through the large lobby window. Fabulous finished his interview and was waiting for Gloria to come back, so I kept talking to her for a little longer just to fuck with him. I didn't have anything against Fabulous. I liked him and his music. I wanted to piss Webb off for that bullshit he pulled at Club Chaos. While Havoc and I were being interviewed in a hotel conference room later that day, Little Lord spotted Webb and approached him about the situation. Little Lord called me over after the interview and Webb apologized. "Yo, man, I'm sorry for that night. I was real drunk and fucked up," he said. "I was in the wrong." "Alright, no problem," I said. "We good." And that was that. I went over to show Fabulous some love. Back in New York, I got some bad news. A letter from the IRS came to my house saying that I owed over $300,000 in unpaid back taxes that had accumulated from 1996 to 2003. I wanted to blame my accountant, Artie Erk, but it was my own fault. Foolish spending. Ever since we signed with Loud Records and our career took off, I would get checks from publishing, advances, budgets, all kinds of outlets. 50,000 here, 10,000 there, that I didn't take to our accountant. Instead, I deposited them in my account and cashed them and went on shopping sprees. Cars, jewels, clothes, drugs, alcohol, and partying. Man, that shit caught up with me. For too many years, I made terrible financial decisions. I set up a meeting with the IRS agent to figure out a way to pay it off. The best option was to sell my house and pay the bill from my profit. A lot of that tax bill came from financing my own movie and paying for most of its production in cash instead of checks. I did that because I was getting cheaper prices with cash. But now I was really going to pay for it in the end. Then I found out that Kiki was messing with some dudes behind my back. I was devastated, crying like a little punk when I found the emails in her phone and she confessed to me. I never cried over a female before. I felt like a chump. I had the wrong attitude about our relationship. I was hardly ever home, hardly ever called, and acted as if the material possessions I gave her were enough to overlook those shortcomings. I felt like a certified loser. "You know you just made me worse now," I said out of humiliation. "You think I was a cold-hearted motherfucker before? Now you gonna see cold." I couldn't help it. That's how I really felt. I had no right to be upset. I was out there doing the same thing. Kiki apologized, and I knew in my heart and mind that she wasn't going anywhere. I knew the rules in the game of love very well. Kiki used to tell me, "You know that whatever you're out there doing, remember I'm doing the same thing." "What do you mean by that?" I asked, knowing damn well what she meant. "If you're being faithful, then I'm doing the same thing," Kiki said. "If you're cheating, then I'm cheating." Being the revenge-driven, selfish asshole that I was in our relationship, I got my vengeance by doing more of the foolishness that brought her to cheating in the first place. I was a dumbass jerk with a lot to learn. We sold the house and made a decent profit. 80% of the money went to the IRS, so we didn't have enough to buy a new house. We rented a 2-bedroom apartment from Kiki's aunt in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Bridgeport, a poverty-stricken town, was about 2 hours from New York City, and traveling back and forth was stressful, but we had to tough it out until I got my money back in order. Alchemist let me stay at his crib in the city a lot, and whenever I wasn't working, I was with Kiki and the kids. The Bridgeport schools had no money, so the textbooks were old and the teaching was mediocre. I felt horrible about subjecting my family to those conditions. My kids deserved the best, and I promised that we wouldn't live out there for long. Financial problems, relationship problems, and then, to make matters worse, Jive dropped Mobb Deep. We knew something was wrong when Jive wasn't showing enthusiasm about promoting America's Nightmare any further. The album was almost gold at the time they dropped us, so our selling power was the same. The only thing that being dropped from Jive hurt was our pride and ego. But why would we want to be aligned with the company that wasn't excited about us? We were free agents once again. We booked a few shows, rented a tour bus, and set up our studio equipment in the back. Half didn't want to stop making beats just because we were on the road. On the bus, we had some deep conversations about the music industry and our position in the game. This is crazy, I told Alchemist and Havoc. We've got some of the best music in the industry, and you guys are two of the best producers. We sell nothing but gold or platinum. I don't understand why these company owners don't snatch us up and take full advantage of our power. It definitely feels like niggas is hating on us or something, Havoc said. Eminem, Dr. Dre, and these other niggas need to sign Mobb Deep, I said. We need people that got money that know our worth. I'm tired of hopping from label to label. Headed home from the brief tour a few days later, Alchemist got a phone call from his manager Paul, who said that Eminem wanted Al to be his official tour DJ. Alchemist was thrilled. DJ Green Lantern, who had been Eminem's DJ since the beginning of M's career, had made a bad move. Jadakiss did a segment on a street DVD called On the Come Up, riding in the back of a car talking to DJ Green Lantern on a speakerphone. Ever since Ja Rule dissed 50 Cent on New York featuring Jadakiss and Fat Joe, 50 saw it as disrespectful for Jadakiss and Fat Joe to be a part of Ja Rule's diss record. 50 started taking shots at whoever was on the song. Jadakiss started talking about his new beef with 50.
Yeah, you gotta go in on these niggas, son,
Green Lantern said to Jadakiss, not knowing that Jadakiss was filming the conversation.
Tear they ass up now.
When Eminem and 50 saw the DVD, they fired Green Lantern and hired Alchemist. Now Alchemist was in with the most successful camp in the game. I felt confident that Mobb Deep would be next to get pulled into the winner's circle where the big money was at. Alchemist flew out to Detroit to meet with Eminem and left me with his apartment for a while. Havoc and I set up a meeting with Jimmy Iovine, president of Interscope Records, home to some of the biggest names in hip-hop, including Death Row, Aftermath, Shady, and G-Unit. He was interested in doing a deal with us. We were surprised that we were even on Jimmy's radar, and immediately booked a flight to Los Angeles to meet him. Right before we left for Los Angeles, 50 Cent released Piggy Bank, taking shots at Ja Rule, Fat Joe, Jadakiss, and Shine, and he even threw a jab at Mobb Deep. I do your little ass like Jay did Mobb Deep. I was baffled. Damn, now I gotta deal with this fool? I thought to myself. I like 50 Cent, but I guess this is what my life is gonna be about. Rap beef and street drama. Why did he do that? And then it hit me. Havoc. Havoc's appearance in that faggot-ass Ja Rule video. Then Havoc told me that he was informed that if Londell McMillan represented us, Interscope wouldn't deal with us. Certain labels had bad dealings with Londell in the past, Havoc said. Nah, don't you see these labels and their legal personnel are just hating on Londell because they know he's going to get the best deal possible for us, I said. They can't tell us which lawyer we can and cannot use. But Havoc wanted to fire Londell and hire a new lawyer so we wouldn't ruin our chances of getting signed. That's illegal. You can use any lawyer that you want, Londell told me at a meeting in his office. These label lawyers don't like me because I know how to negotiate. And these companies want to make slaves out of artists. What do you want to do? Sorry, man. I think you're the best there is, but I gotta move with my partner. My nigga Havoc. I felt like choking myself for being so loyal to him sometimes. When Jive dropped us, I was ready to walk away from Mobb Deep for a little while, fed up and ready for a brand new start. I wanted to establish my own indie label and get a distribution deal, focus on my solo career until further notice. House money is okay, but I needed Manhattan builder money. I needed great-grandchildren money. A day later, Havoc set up a meeting with an attorney named Theo Sotomayor, who used to be partners at a firm with Alchemist's manager, Paul Rosenberg. Theo was now 50 Cent and Eminem's lawyer, and I could tell from his words and attitude that in Theo's mind, Mobb Deep was a thing of the past. His assistant brought over retainer agreements for us to sign, giving Theo permission to do business on our behalf. It was painful for me to sign that paper. I felt like I was disrespecting Londell. The vibe that I got from Theo was that he didn't seem genuinely concerned with our career. But Havoc and I had to be on the same page, so to make our lives easier, we moved together on things. We lit cigars as if this was some type of celebration. So, Interscope is showing some interest, Theo said. Yeah, but we'd rather fuck with Eminem. Isn't that your client? I asked. Wouldn't he be interested in signing Mobb Deep? No. Eminem is looking to get away from signing hardcore acts. He wants conscious rap now, like Pharoah Monch and Mos Def. This man actually wanted me to believe that Eminem wouldn't be interested in signing Mobb Deep after what Eminem did for us in his movie. It sounded like bullshit to me. What's up with 50 Cent? Isn't he your client too? I asked. You should get him on the phone and see if he's interested. No, 50 isn't looking to sign anybody right now. He's got too much on his plate already. Let's just see how it goes with Interscope and take it from there. Why would you represent a client who you don't believe in 100%? It seemed like Theo was only in it for the payday and to add another name to his roster. Havoc and I flew to LA to meet with Jimmy Iovine at the Interscope office. Those meetings with labels made me sick to my stomach because it felt like I was begging to be signed by executives who had no idea about what's hot in the street. I knew our music was powerful enough for us to be independent. I hated it with every molecule in my body, but tried to be as humble as possible and not show any signs of disgust in my face. I'm a boss, not an employee. Mobb Deep, it's nice to finally meet you guys, Jimmy said after greeting us in his office. I know a lot about your music and history, so you're looking for a new label to call home, huh? Yeah, we seem to outlive all our labels. We're looking for a company that understands our music and audience and can push our albums to the maximum without dropping the ball, I said. I know you guys are veterans. You're like a classic car that just needs a fresh coat of paint, Jimmy said. I wouldn't want to sign you guys directly to Interscope. I'd rather bring you through Aftermath, Shady, or G-Unit because they know more about how to promote your style of music. So let me run this by Dre and Eminem and see if they're interested. We'll do it like that. That sounds good, Havoc and I agreed. The way Jimmy spoke made me feel more at ease. He seemed genuinely interested and somewhat knowledgeable. Our first pick would be to sign with Dr. Dre. Shady was our second choice, and since 50 just dissed us, we knew he probably wasn't interested. We flew back to New York, and I stayed at Alchemist's apartment for a few days to be alone with my thoughts. Back in Bridgeport, during breakfast with my family, Havoc called. P, where you at? I gotta tell you something, he said, sounding excited. I'm in Connecticut, what's up? You ain't gonna believe this shit. I just got a call from 50. He said he heard that Job dropped us and he's interested in signing us. He wants to have a meeting right away. What? That's crazy. The nigga just tried dissing us on the song and now he wanna sign us? He might be trying to set us up, son, I said. This nigga 50 is trying to make us look stupid or something, I thought. Trying to pull a chess move like Nas. Just come to the studio early tomorrow so we could talk, Hav said. He wants to meet us tomorrow afternoon. June 30th, 2009. Mid-State Correctional Facility, Marcy, New York. 1 a.m. Prison is for losers and dumb fucks. The intelligent winners are out in the street with their freedom. Ain't nothing cool or glorifying about being locked up. Whoever thinks this shit gives you street credibility is a fool. All prison does is screw up your life for a short, long, or permanent period of time. My time was short. I don't care if you say you're innocent and got set up, or if you feel your crime was justifiable, you still made some type of mistake, wrong move, did something you shouldn't have done, or went someplace you shouldn't have gone. Basically, you did some dumb shit and got caught slipping. I'm not shitting on inmates. There are plenty of good brothers and sisters trapped in the system. I just want to make it very clear, especially for young kids, that prison is nothing to be proud of. I've been to 5 different facilities during my bid. Rikers Island, 1 month. Downstate, 2 months. Governor, 1 month. Oneida, a few days. And my final stop on my New York State prison tour, Mid-State Correctional Facility, 2 years and 8 months. Inmates and COs from all over New York, from old-timers to young bloods, showed me and Mobb Deep crazy love. It gave me a crazy boost of inspiration. I'd never been away from the studio for so long in my life. I ordered a few instrumental mixtapes from the prison catalog to write songs to, but I can't write to the best of my ability to another artist's music. I needed original, never heard before production from my home team to write hits. It was like trying to get a Muslim to eat pork, getting a beat cassette in Mid-State. They allow only screwless cassettes, shrink-wrapped in plastic, with the invoice from a music distributor. First, I had to order screwless mixtapes or albums from the prison catalog, which only mailed goods to jails. Kiki sent Alchemist the cassettes to record over. Then, Alchemist sent them back to Kiki, who mailed them to my HNIC Part 2 distributor to be shrink-wrapped and shipped with an invoice. It took about 6 months to get a beat tape in my hands. When I finally got my beats, I turned into a songwriting tsunami in that 8x10 steel box. All my producer homeboys started sending me hot shit. Alchemist, Havoc, Sid Rome's, SC, and my dude Stevie J, who used to produce for Bad Boy. I wrote 7 albums with those first few cassettes. I gave thanks to the Most High for blessing me with that amount of creativity. I didn't mark notches on my walls for every day they went by like they did in them jail movies. I never paid the calendar any attention at all. Watching the days made them seem slower. I went without knowing the date or trying to find out. Then the next thing I knew, 3 months would fly by. Letters were coming in from all over the world. Serbia, Russia, England, France, Germany, Hong Kong, and all around the U.S. But the letter I wanted and waited for most never came. Havoc's letter. I'd written Havoc twice from downstate, once from Governor, then once from Mid-State. He hadn't responded. Hav never even contacted Kiki to check on my family. Kiki emailed, text, and called Hav on my behalf on several occasions, and he responded twice out of 20 tries. Stop reaching out to him if he doesn't want to respond, Kiki said. Maybe he's trying to tell you something. Maybe he doesn't want to do Mobb Deep anymore. No, keep trying, I insisted. That's my partner. If he doesn't want to be my friend, we still gotta handle our business. If you come home and you still dealing with dudes like that who don't give a fuck about you, then I'm not fucking with you no more, Kiki said. My man Tyson from Queens started making the 4-hour drive from Jamaica in his messed up hoopty to see me. I would ask him about Havoc, but Tyson said he didn't know what was up with him. I told Tyson to put Havoc in the car and just bring him. I'm gonna put him in the car and tell him we going to the liquor store, Tyson said. Then come straight to you. That sounded funny, but this wasn't a joke. My partner wasn't communicating with me, and there were things we needed to discuss. Even though I was locked up, there were still plenty of ways to keep our money coming. But without communication, it just doesn't work. I wasn't concerned only with business. I was concerned with Hav's well-being. He was more than just a music partner. He was my friend. If there's one thing you learn from prison, it's patience. So I decided to be patient with Havoc. He'll come around eventually. I needed to focus on my number one priority, me. I wanted to build a powerful vocabulary. Besides Dr. York's books, the only books I ever read in my life were the Autobiography of Malcolm X and Who Moved My Cheese. I was missing out on a world full of literature and put it in my mind that I would be like a Tibetan monk locked up in the mountains for 3 years of study and research. By the time I was released, I would come home a mastermind. I started receiving books in the mail from Kiki and my friend Laura Checkaway, who was also the editor of this autobiography. Laura sent me some random books that she thought I would be interested in, and she was 200% correct with her choices. She sent Target Zero, A Life in Writing, the autobiography of Eldridge Cleaver, one of the most infamous Black Panthers. I tore through the book in a week. She also sent Medical Apartheid by Harriet A. Washington, an incredible book about the history of medical experiments on Black people. My wife sent Assata Shakur's autobiography. Foxy Brown told me she read it right before she went home from her bid on Rikers. Assata Shakur was also a Black Panther, and her story was amazing. I also read Long Walk to Freedom, the autobiography of Nelson Mandela. Not only did reading build my vocabulary, it also allowed me to see life from different points of view. It made me more enthused about life, love, family, God, and my career. It's funny how the right book can do that to you. I see it like this. Knowledge is food for the brain. You could fill up on junk food, fiction, that will cloud your brain with all kinds of pollution. Or you could fill up on health food, facts, that will turn your brain into a strong, intelligent muscle. When I spoke to friends and family over the phone and during visits, they all told me that they could see in my eyes and hear in my voice that I had a fresh new energy. I was taken away from my family and recording studio, the two things I love. It gave me a brand new appreciation for them. It's true when they say that you don't know what you've got until it's gone. There were 4 inmates I was cool with in my dorm. Young from Poughkeepsie, Alex from Hunts Point in the Bronx, Legs Diamond from the Bronx, and Brandon from South Jamaica, Queens. Whenever we hung out in the day room and watched shows like 106 in Park, MTV and VH1 videos, and music award shows, I'd get frustrated watching all the artists performing and promoting their new product. It inspired me and made me fiend for the studio like a dope addict. Whenever I got that frustrated feeling, I tell my boys, "Alright, I'm out. I'm going to the studio." And they knew that meant I was locking in my cell to write songs with my Walkman. Chapter 12. Blood Money. Now, homie, if I go to hell when you make it to the pearly gates, tell that nigga God we got beef. And tell that nigga Jesus I'ma see him when I see him. And when I see him, I'ma beat him like the movie for leaving us out to dry and straight poverty. For not showing me no signs he watching over me. Pearly gates. "12 noon, Harlem. Riding up the West Side Highway in the backseat of Havoc's black 2005 4.6 Range Rover with black rims, aka the Black Jelly Bean. I was extremely anxious to see how this monumental meeting was going to turn out. 50 was having a Reebok photo shoot underneath the trestle on 125th Street and the West Side Highway. I had a gun on my waist, as always. But when we pulled up to the spot, I left it in the car. I didn't know if I could trust 50 after he took that shot at us on Piggy Bank, but I decided to give him my trust. So I put the 16 shooter under the car mat and stepped out of the truck. Chris Lighty our former manager, who we parted ways with shortly after the job deal, greeted Havoc flying me with his devilish baby-faced grin, then walked into a trailer. 50 came from the back of the trailer and got right down to business. He told us the amount of respect he had for us, saying that he was our biggest fan and that Mobb Deep motivated him to be a rapper. He gave us all kinds of compliments and said that he wanted to see us on his level of success, selling multi-million units. It was weird hearing that from someone who sold over 10 million and didn't have to give us the time of day. He said he would send us a deal memo, a rough draft of a contract to start the negotiation process ASAP. Back at the studio, Havoc and I discussed the offer for hours. It felt like we hit the lottery, like a miracle. Now we could relax and create dope music without stressing money or label problems, just as Havoc wanted. I could move my family out of Bridgeport. Finally, somebody with power recognized our power. We were going to need a new lawyer because Theo would be a conflict of interest since he represented 50. And he said 50 wouldn't be interested. I told Havoc that we should ask for $2 million to sign. I wasn't expecting $2 million, but when you do business, you start high and the number works its way down. Havoc didn't understand that concept. He thought asking for that much would turn 50 off and we'd lose the deal. But I believed if 50 was serious about all the things he told us, then he should pay the price. He know how ill we are and how much we worth. Driving to Connecticut to chill with Kiki and the kids that night, all kind of thoughts were running through my head about my next move. I was wrapping up HNIC Part 2 and planning to release it independently under my own label. But that call from 50 might change my plan if it all went well. Since the job deal soured, I wanted to stop doing Mobb Deep for a little while and start focusing on Prodigy. I was beginning to see very clearly that Havoc and I were completely different. I knew it all along, but reality was hitting harder than ever. To tell you the truth, I didn't want to do the deal with 50. I felt as though I wasn't being a man by doing the deal. That's why I wanted so much money to sell him a few Mobb Deep albums. The following morning, I told Kiki the news, but she never got excited about anything related to rap music. So 50 didn't mean shit to her. She just wanted to get the hell out of Connecticut. I wrote down the pros and cons of the deal. When I did the math, it made more sense to do it. I emailed 50's lawyer, Theo, saying that it was nice meeting with 50 and we were excited to do business, but that we needed an advance of $2 million upon signing. I CC'd Havoc and 50's assistant, Pretty Shy, so they all got the message at the same time. Havoc immediately hit me back with an email barking on me for sending a message. He called me foolish and said he was tired of my antics. He's mad because I'm trying to get us paid. Kiki and I just laughed at his angry emails. Pretty Shy hit me back and said he would get the message to 50. I was talking about the new deal while smoking with Alchemist at his apartment later that day when 50 called asking for my email address to send a song for having me to check out. 20 minutes later, Al and I listened to the first of 30 Mobb Deep featuring 50 Cent tracks. I burnt it to a CD and rushed back to Queens to link with Hav, excited to show 50 how fast we work. We knocked it out within an hour. We didn't have internet in our studio in Queens, so I jetted back to Alchemist's crib to send it. That back and forth process became my daily routine for the next 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, we had 30 songs done. 50 called one day while I was at the ATM around the corner from our Queens studio, saying he was impressed by how fast we worked and how good the songs were turning out. Anytime he called, I stopped everything to speak with him. If I was driving, I pulled a car over to concentrate on our conversation. 50 said he had a surprise that he couldn't hold in, but not to tell Havoc, so at least Hav could be surprised. I'm buying y'all 2 Porsches as a bonus. 50 said. Since we had knocked out so much music before even inking the deal, he wanted people to see us with the cars and know we were signing a G Unit. I didn't know what to say. 50 was giving us 2 Porsches. I just said thanks. As soon as I got up off the phone with him, I raced back to the studio to tell Havoc what 50 told me not to tell him. Just like 50, I couldn't hold it in. Hav was hyped. The one-of-a-kind special order Porsches would be delivered in a week. "Do you know how to drive stick shift?" 50 asked. "No," I said, "but I would damn sure learn fast." I practiced in a Honda Prelude before picking up my keys and insurance card from 50's accountant right next to Long Island Jewish Hospital. I drove my brand spanking new silver 911 Turbo S Series with black leather interior to the studio to see Hav's white GT3 and compared it to. Hav's Porsche was very rare, only 100 made in America. My car was making so many females stop and look that I called the turbo hoes on each side pussy hoes. I was in love with my Porsche with the pussy hoes. The next morning, I woke up to the sounds of Alchemist making beats. I felt weird living with Al because I didn't want to be a burden. So I swept the floor and kept things as neat as possible. After cleaning, I searched the web for information about the Illuminati, secret government, UFOs, and the origin of race and religions. I became a real internet junkie staying with Al. Eventually, I forced myself to turn off the computer and drove to the Queen studio. Fly, Hav, and Nice were there when I arrived. Nice was a rapper from Southside Jamaica, Queens, who'd been renting our studio whenever we weren't using it. Hav took a liking to him and wanted to sign him. It took me a while to get used to new people, and Hav kept new faces popping up. That Monday, Mobb Deep's new lawyer, Evan Freifeld, called saying he got a deal memo from 50's lawyer. The contract was a 2-album deal, with a little over $1 million advance for Hav and me to split, and a merchandising deal for clothing, 70% for us, 30% for G Unit. It was a regular artist deal, meaning we got 19 points for each album sold. That's about 89 cents to $1 per album. If we signed the deal, we would be going on 2 back-to-back major tours, Eminem's Anger Management and 50's Massacre Tour. Plus, we would be on the movie soundtrack for 50's flick, Get Rich or Die Trying, going to premieres around the world. We signed on the dotted line real fast. A few weeks later, 50 threw a big party at his crib in Connecticut. My cousin JM, 40 Glock, Majesty, E-Money Bag's younger brother Reem, and I took the 2-hour drive, smoking 6 blunts along the way. Hav followed a few hours later. 50's driver, Bruce, let us in. Wow. 50 had transformed Mike Tyson's crib into a palace with like 6 living rooms, 6 kitchens, 17 bedrooms, a club, a strip club, pool tables, racquetball court, indoor and outdoor basketball courts, indoor and outdoor pools and jacuzzis, lake, waterfall, dirt bike and 4-wheeler track, a studio, gym, sauna, movie theater, elevator, and shooting range. 50 told me I could have any bedroom I wanted, except for his, of course, and that I could stay there whenever I wanted. 50's personal chef came over to me. 50 told me to tell you, this house is yours, he said. Anything you want, I'll cook it for you, anything you need. We partied all night and kicked it with our new label mates, Tony Yayo, Lloyd Banks, and Young Buck. They embraced us like family. Then we took the long drive back home. 50 called the next morning and told me to get ready for the U.S. run of Eminem's Anger Management Tour, which would be followed by his Massacre Tour. He then told me that he would be at the G Unit office later. Alchemist's crib was a block away from the G Unit office, so I walked over there all the time. People at the office must have been like, damn, P's here a lot. Havoc only made special guest appearances every blue moon. Where's Hav? Yayo and 50 always asked. "What's up with Hav?" "Making beats," I said. And I wasn't lying. Havoc was in the studio like a lab rat, 24 hours a day. Otherwise, he had somebody's chick drinking Hennessy and putting her legs behind her head. I was trying to stay close with our new crimies, the unit. I didn't want to miss a beat. Diamond District Jewelers came to the office offering 50 gifts he didn't even want. When he brushed them off, Yayo and I befriended them and got free shit. I bought jewelry and clothes to Havoc at the studio in Queens. He'd ask how I get it all, and I told him he needed to come around to the office more often. He needed to be in the mix in order to reap the benefits. 50 announced to the public that along with Mobb Deep, he was signing another hardcore rap duo, M.O.P., the Mash Out Posse from Brownsville, Brooklyn. Mobb Deep and M.O.P. started our careers at the same time, both signing to Island 4th and Broadway back when we put out Juvenile Hell. When Loud Records briefly merged with Relativity Records in 2002, Mobb Deep and M.O.P. were label mates. We had a hit record with Hey Love featuring 112 from Infamy, and M.O.P. had their hit Ante Up from their album Warriors. Now here we were together again in 2005 on G-Unit Records. The week before we went on tour, we shot the music video for Out of Control, a remix to a song produced by Dr. Dre originally on 50's Massacre album. It was our first Dr. Dre beat. M.O.P. made a cameo appearance in the video. 50 made a bunch of t-shirts that read Mobb Deep, G-Unit, Game Over. G-Unit reminded me of Mobb Deep because of how hard they worked in the studio making quality music. Tupac also reminded me of our work ethic. It seemed like he had an endless amount of songs. Anybody could push themselves to make 1 million songs. But are they good songs? Most people make 1 million pieces of shit. Our music, our songs, are works of art, not fast food. Our shit is home cooking. The day we left for the world tour, I couldn't wait to get on stage and feel the crowd's response on opening night, July 11th in Chicago. I hadn't been nervous before getting on stage in a long time, but this was major. Mobb Deep, M.O.P., Eminem, Lloyd Banks, Yayo, Young Buck, and 50 all had our own buses. Each bus wrapped with pictures of our faces on them. I noticed that 50's face wasn't on there. He was really using his power to promote his artist. I think Olivia rode in 50's bus. I wondered, why is 50 wasting money on Olivia? She was garbage and not very good looking. Sorry, yo. She never had a hit record, so what was the purpose? 50 could have had any R&B female he wanted, but for whatever reason, he chose her. Strange. But I paid it no mind. I figured 50 would realize sooner or later who's pulling weight and who's not. A few of our people joined us on the road. Twin, 40 Glock, Nice, and Hav's Uncle La. Alchemist was Eminem's DJ, so he had a bus with a few of M's boys. Often, Eminem and 50 flew in private jets to the next state. Sold out arenas every night. We stayed at the Ritz-Carlton in every state, top of the line. We were on a strict schedule. The road manager would call, and we would have to be in the lobby on time or get left. 50, Yayo, and Banks had their own bulletproof trucks with drivers who met us in the next state or followed the tour buses which drove from city to city in a pack. I gotta get me one of them armored trucks, I thought. At the arena, we'd be in the G-Unit dressing room blasting music, flooding the room with weed smoke, and drowning in Hennessy. 50 didn't smoke or drink, so he needed his own separate room. He had a private chef and a catering service. The best food, of course, was in 50's dressing room. I made my way to his room for a nice steak dinner every chance I got. He never minded me coming over to grub with him. Stylists outfitted us in tons of clothes, fitted hats, sneakers, boots, tees, socks and drawers, all G-Unit brand. Y'all know the infamous Mobb Deep, right? 50 introduced us on the stage every night, the crowd screaming. Mobb Deep did 3 songs in the middle of 50's set: Shook Ones, Quiet Storm, and Out of Control. I worried that I might bust my ass coming down the steps from the tall scaffolding as we took the stage. I held on tight to the railing while walking down a spiral staircase every night. After our work was done, Twin, Nice, 40 Glock and I would walk into the crowd to fuck with the fans and the females, signing autographs and posing for pictures. Alchemist would be upset that while we were in the crowd getting all the girls to bring backstage, he was setting up to get on stage with Eminem. So Al started going in early. He'd be in the crowd while we were on stage with 50. Alchemist brought our boy Ron Gotti from Queensbridge to help assist him with equipment. It felt good to have all us together on such a big tour. Have, Twin, Gotti, Alchemist, Nice, 40 Glock and me. Our crew was veterans when it came to touring and swooping up the ladies to take backstage or to the hotel. With 12 years of seasoned game under our belts, we knew exactly what to say and what to do, and we called ourselves vultures. The G-Unit crew was animals just like us, so we came up with a name for them: hyenas. Some nights, we bumped heads going after the same females. "It's the vultures versus the hyenas," Twin said one night, and I fell out on the floor laughing. You know the vultures won, 'cause we fly. Nah, but when the hyenas felt like they might lose a girl to the vultures, they would use their secret weapon. 5 words. 50 wants to see you. It was over after that. We called that cheating. 50 didn't want to see shit. They just said that to get them to the room. It's all good. We had a lot of fun all over the United States, in every major city on the map. A crew of 6 females in Florida got on our tour bus and followed us halfway across America, hopping off in Texas somewhere after we had our fun with them. They didn't know how they were getting back home and didn't care. We damn sure didn't either. A couple of dudes, whom I won't name, would pay for groupies to fly or bus back home. We called them Care Bear thugs. If I named them, they would get their vulture wings or hyena tails clipped. If the G-Unit crew caught one of their hyenas being a Care Bear, they would subpoena him to hood court, and he would have to stand trial in front of everybody, then get judged by a jury of hyenas. At the hotel after the show, instead of fucking with chicks, I would often go to the studio truck, where 50 was always working on the Get Rich or Die Trying movie soundtrack. 50 never fucked with chicks after the shows. He's strictly business. It took a real bad chick to get his attention. 50, Yayo, Banks, Buck and I put the most work in up in the studio truck, along with Spider Lope, an LA Crip who joined Buck for his 15-minute set every night. It's crazy that G-Unit had an LA Crip down with them, and Mobb Deep had an LA Crip also, 40 Glock. One night at the hotel, 50 told me that he was going to sign Mace and bring him on tour. Mace was dope when he first came out as Murder Mace on songs with DMX and Cameron, but now? Personally, I wasn't feeling the idea, but I figured 50 knew something I didn't. I felt 50 was watering down the power we would have if it was just Mobb Deep and G-Unit. Powerful Queens hood music, consistent and invincible. After about 15 shows, we went to New York for a week-long break. 50 had his 8-year-old son Marquise with him on tour, so I figured I'd bring my 9-year-old son Shaka with me when the break was over. Shaka was open when I told him he was coming with me. The Out of Control remix was getting a lot of video and radio play, but I was starting to hear a lot of hatred because Mobb Deep signed with G-Unit. Fans approached me in the streets asking, "Why did y'all sign to G-Unit? Y'all Mobb Deep, y'all don't need 50. I read similar comments on the internet and in magazines. But true Mobb Deep fans should have been happy that their favorite group was still active after 15 years, making big deals, writing rhymes, and crafting beats that were timeless. I don't care if it's on G-Unit, B Unit, 3 Unit, Loud, Sony, Koch, or Nuts in Your Mouth Records. We do what we do, wherever we decide to do it. But I understood how the fans felt. They wanted to see us as independent label owners, not employees. I felt the same way. But Havoc didn't want that, and I was being loyal to my partner. We were making a lot of money and doing what we loved, so hey, there was really nothing to complain about. After the 1 week break, our crew met on 27th Street and 11th Avenue and got back on the tour bus. Kiki's 15-year-old cousin, Man Man, came along so he could keep an eye on Shaka while we went to the after parties. Man Man and Shaka had never been on a tour bus before, so I taught them the #1 rule. No shitting in the bus bathroom. You also had to sleep on the bunk with your head to the back of the bus, because if you face the front, you might break your neck if the bus stopped short. The kids usually stayed up front watching movies or playing PlayStation. At the Ritz, I taught the kids their next lesson. No food from the minibar. No $10 candy bars. When we got to the arena, I introduced Shaka and Man Man to 50. 50's son wasn't on tour anymore. He'd gone home for a few weeks. Afterwards, 50 told me that my son walked up to him and said, "My dad said we were going to be rich one day. Now I believe him." Mace joined the tour. Mace hung out in 50's room doing push-ups and sit-ups. 50 tended to have that effect on people. At showtime, I brought Shaka to the side of the stage to get a good look. I instructed Shaka and Man Man to hold their ears during the explosion in the beginning. When it was Mobb Deep's turn, Shaka was damn near on stage with us, watching in the background. This was his first time seeing me perform, and there were like 40,000 people screaming and singing his father's songs. I was happy he got to see that. After we finished, Mace came out shimmying, doing his famous dance. It looked like Puffy was gonna hop out of nowhere saying, "Take that, take that, take that." The crowd loved it, but the vultures and the hyenas were backstage mimicking it. "Take that, take that." I felt like walking up to 50 and asking him why, but I didn't. I was happy to have a great position and enjoy it with my son and my friends. Man Man and Shaka started roaming around the arena with the sons of Lil Fame and Fox from MOP. They were hopping gates and disrespecting the security and arena personnel. When people told them to stop running around before they hurt themselves, they say, "This is my dad's show," and keep wilding. After roaming around in the crowd, I caught up with the little terrors and saw them jumping over a 3-foot gate without using their hands. "Don't bust your face open and ruin yourself," I warned Shaka. "Your tour will be over after that." That made him relax. 50 told me he would watch my son at the hotel while we went to the after parties. I didn't want to impose on his privacy, but he said it wasn't a problem. He never went to the after parties anyway. Everybody in G Unit liked my son. Shaka's a good kid with a fun personality, always joking and play fighting. DJ Who Kid would DJ the after parties for extra money, and promoters gave us free bottles of everything while we acted a damn fool standing on all the chairs and tables going crazy to our music and enjoying the women. Our job was to leave an impression in every state, make people say, "The Mobb Deep G Unit boys is wild." When I walked into 50's room at the hotel to get Shaka after an after party, I smelled something burning. This little fool was cooking the complimentary fruit on the coffee pot hot plate. 50 didn't know what was going on because he was knocked out sleeping. At 4 a.m., this little boy was starting a damn fruit fire. I cleaned up the mess and took Shaka back to our room where Man Man was knocked out. Shaka's crazy. He must have been tired and delirious doing that crazy shit. 50 had a tattoo artist on the tour who would tattoo people up every day. I decided to get G Unit on my hand, like Yayo, Banks, Buck, 50, and the team. 50 made me feel real comfortable, like I was a brother. I felt like part of the family. When I showed Havoc, he was bugging like, wow. I didn't show anybody else. Backstage before the show the next night, 50 looked at my hand and did a double take. P, let me see your hand, he said. Oh, shit, okay. Later that night, after the show, everybody had chicks at the hotel except for me. I was wandering around the hotel looking for everybody, but they were all busy in their rooms. I took a walk to the studio truck, but only the engineer was there. So I walked over to the tour bus with the light shining through the windows and climbed inside, and what I saw shocked the hell out of me. 50 was getting a tattoo. I stepped in to get a closer look. Mobb Deep, enclosed in a semicircle, our logo, inked in black on his wrist. I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. I chilled there for 5 minutes, then went back to my room. As I laid in my bed trying to drift off, I thought about how glad I was that I got the G-Unit tattoo first without telling anyone. It was an official gesture of loyalty, and 50 did the same. The next day, Havoc got a G-Unit tattoo when I told him that 50 got Mobb Deep. A lot of so-called fans said that I was sucking 50 for getting a G-Unit tattoo. They shut the fuck up when they found out he got Mobb Deep. A lot of people wanted Mobb Deep to be fraudulent so bad. Sorry to disappoint you, but the infamous Mobb Deep are some of the realest in rap music. We create while other rappers steal, acting as if we don't exist so you won't discover where they got it. I call them closet fans. Our next stop on tour was Virginia Beach. The clear, sunny skies felt like the tropics when we arrived. We had plenty of time to kill before the show. I took the boys for a walk on the boardwalk to enjoy the scenery and the weather. I noticed my son and Man checking out the girls their age around the hotel and started giving them pointers on how to approach females and start a conversation. Then I would test them. I hadn't had the official birds and bees convo with Shaka yet, but I could see that it was time. There was a pretty little girl checking into the hotel with her parent, so I told Shaka to try his skills on her. I saw a purple flower in a small landscaping pot and I told him to pick it out and give it to her. To my surprise, Shaka wasn't scared at all. He stepped right to his business and started talking to the girl. Shaka walked back to where I was standing, cheesing. I gave Man a couple of condoms and told him to practice safe sex if it happened to come down to that. Better safe than sorry. I had a radio interview with 50, so I left Man with the spare room key and told him to be safe. In the hotel hallway, after the radio show, I saw Shaka and Man strolling in the complimentary hotel robes and slippers talking about, "What up, player?" like they were two Hugh Hefners in the Playboy Mansion. I asked them where they were coming from, and they said, working out in the hotel gym with Mace. I asked them if Mace spoke to them, and they said, nah, he didn't say much. They said they were running on the treadmill and stationary bike, then they hit the pool and jacuzzi. Some of the G-Unit members told me that Shaka and Man had a couple of groupies in the room. The kids told me nothing happened though. That night at the show, Man and Shaka was signing autographs for young girls on their pant legs and back pockets of their jeans. These little dudes thought they were superstars. Shaka was telling people that Man was his security guard. Man looked older than his age, so it was believable. We were having the time of our lives. 6-star hotels, cream of the crop groupies, flights in G5 private jets, traveling professional studio, radio and TV shows, the best food, weed, and no sleep. Well, maybe a little. It seemed like every day we had 30 magazine interviews, 4 radio shows, and 20 video interviews. Havoc always hated doing press. Getting him to do interviews was like pulling wisdom teeth, so I did a lot by myself. I love doing press. Although constantly being asked the same question and repeating the same answers did become annoying, I try to just have fun with it. After Virginia Beach came Atlanta, Orlando, Minneapolis, Denver, Salt Lake, then Dallas. In Atlanta, we were running late from a radio interview before the concert, and it was bumper-to-bumper traffic on the highway heading towards the arena. The Atlanta police escorted our 7-car motorcade on the shoulder, bypassing the traffic. At the arena, Gotti, Alchemist, Twin, and I were outside smoking haze in the patio area when 40 dudes with CTE, Corporate Thugs Entertainment, and Snowman t-shirts and blue bandanas bogarted their way through the back entrance, smoking cigarettes, weed, and swigging on big gallons of liquor. Who the fuck is these niggas? Gotti, Al, Twin, and I wondered. Seeing 15 Snowman tees, it clicked in my head that it was Young Jeezy and his crew. Young Jeezy walked through the gate in shades and a blue rag covering his face under his hat. I realized that Young Jeezy and his team were claiming Crip. That was new to me. Atlanta Crips. I didn't know if 50 had invited them, but they were cool with Young Buck, and the way they bogarted their way inside reminded me of Mobb Deep. 30 minutes later, 50 flew on stage with a loud explosion, and once again it was on. After 50 set, Buck came out chest naked, lit a blunt in hand, doing his usual Buck Marley set and marijuana tribute with Spider Loc. Buck suddenly stopped and called Young Jeezy onto the stage. Havoc, Shaka, Man, and I watched from the side stage TV monitor, waiting for our turn to perform. Jeezy performed a few songs, and Buck brought his set to a close. Jeezy and his team bounced, and Buck walked over to the side stage wardrobe where 50, Yayo, and Banks were getting ready to hit the stage. 50 grabbed Buck by the arm crazy tight and screamed at him. "You ever pull some shit like that again, I'm gonna send your dumb ass home. The fuck is wrong with you?" Buck just kept quiet. Buck hadn't even asked 50 if Jeezy could perform, and Jeezy did more songs than he was supposed to do, when he really wasn't supposed to do anything at all. Jeezy played Young Buck. That was the first time I saw Young Buck do some dumb shit. After the show, some G-Unit members were arguing with Young Buck and his Nashville crew. A fight almost broke out, and it was tense for the next couple of shows. After about 25 shows on Eminem's Anger Management Tour, we arrived at the last venue, Detroit's Tiger Stadium. It was the perfect way for Eminem to end his tour, in his hometown. For the first time on the whole tour, I told Alchemist I wanted to kick it with Shady. In Shady's dressing room, M's hype man, Proof, from D12, was sitting on the couch smoking a strange-looking red cigarette. "You want to try one of these?" he asked, offering me one of the strange-smelling smokes. "They're Japanese cigarettes." I figured, what the hell, I'll take a toke. It was the most horrible flavor in the history of tobacco, like a rolled-up shit turd. That was my first and last time kicking it with Proof. He was murdered in a Detroit club the following year. He was a cool dude. Inside Al's bus, which was notches above the luxury of Mobb Deep's bus, Atlanta rapper Little Scrappy and his homeboy were smoking heavy. Scrappy's homeboy had sickle cell too, so we talked about it for a while. In between the parked tour buses, crunk rapper Little John was cooking chicken on a barbecue grill. Little John and Scrappy opened the show every night, then Sierra, then 50, then Shady. Little John cracked open a tall can of beer and guzzled half of it. He put a whole chicken on the grill with seasoning. Little John looked over at us and said, "After you drink some of the beer, you stuff the beer can up the chicken's ass and prop the chicken upright so that it's sitting on the beer can. Then you let it cook and let the beer steam get all inside the chicken for flavor. You have to let it marinate." Little John cracked open another beer and in a proper tone, as if he was hosting a cooking show, said, "I usually use this time to have me another beer whilst we wait." Wow, a crunk cooking lesson. We walked away shaking our heads. Little John offered us some of the chicken, and that was our cue to bounce. I'd rather not. For this particular show at Tiger Stadium, everybody's stage entrance was different from all the other shows. 50. I know y'all know the infamous Mobb Deep, right? Crowd. Yeah. 50. Well, check this out. Havoc and I came out from both sides of the stage and started Quiet Storm. It was crazy. Tiger Stadium looked gigantic. I had flashbacks from when Pops kidnapped me and we lived in Detroit. We used to go to the Tigers games, and now I was performing there. 1 minute into Haz's verse, he suddenly disappeared from my peripheral vision, and I didn't hear him rapping anymore. Oh! The crowd said at the same time, like something bad just happened. I looked to my right and saw Havoc holding on for his life inside the elevator hole on stage that 50 had risen out of during his entrance. The stage production crew had left it open by mistake. One of the stagehands ran out to try to help him, but Havoc lifted himself out real quick, mic still in hand. I'm all right, he said, and we kept performing. I knew Hav was a little embarrassed, but he snapped right back. After Detroit, we went back home to New York, and Shady added one last show at Madison Square Garden. The Garden show was special for us, the way that Tiger Stadium was for Shady. While we were on stage performing Shook Ones, I looked to the left of the front row and saw Nicole Kidman going crazy with her hands in the air dancing to our music. I was shocked. She was with the men's magazine model, Vita Guerra. That was the highlight of the concert for us. During a short break, before I went back on tour, Kiki found a new townhouse development in New Jersey for $780,000. Our last house was almost $300,000 less. But since we made the G-Unit deal, I figured it would be safe to buy the spot and pay it off quickly with our tour money. At the tail end of August 2005, we flew to London to start the Massacre European tour. It was time for my son Shaka to start school again, so he had to stay home. 40 Glock and Twin came along. In London, our tour bus met us at the Ritz-Carlton. We had to share our bus with MOP for this leg of the tour. Get Rich or Die Trying, the movie, was premiering in London the night we arrived, so we got real spiffy for the red carpet. Hundreds of paparazzi cameras and fans lined up as we made our entrance. 50 pulled me to the side before we left the hotel. When you see cameras, make sure you're right next to me. I want Mobb Deep to benefit from all this promotion, he said. So that's what I did. Mace was with us overseas too. On the red carpet, Mace ran past everybody to stand next to 50 for the paparazzi pictures and interviews. It wasn't my style to knock people out the way and fight to stand next to 50, or anybody for that matter, for a picture like a male groupie. Man, listen, I'll just catch the next picture. After the movie that night, one of 50's super rich friends, Amir, threw a party at his mansion in downtown London. Wait till you see Amir's crib in London. This nigga is stupid rich. 50 had been telling me throughout the tour. These rappers out here think they got money? These niggas ain't got shit. Amir had 100 of the baddest broads in London at his spot for the party. Non-stop glasses of champagne and free drinks all night. Jim Sheridan, the director of Get Rich or Die Trying, came to the after party with us. He's Irish, and when I told him I was part Irish, he talked to me a lot after that. We were having so much fun, I found myself doing the sandwich dance with some chick and Jim Sheridan. The whole time, 50 kept it strictly professional, standing in a casual suit, holding the same glass of champagne for hours, and chatting with everybody that approached him. It was impressive to see him not lose his focus amongst all that foolishness. After a while, 50 called me outside to the front of the house, where he and Amir were standing. I want to show you something, he said. Amir pressed a hidden button, and the whole cobblestone entrance of his house started going down like an elevator, revealing an underground garage with 20 exotic cars. After about 30 spilled drinks and 80 broken champagne glasses, party was over, and we went back to the Ritz. Following London, we went to Germany, Scotland, Ireland, France, and Italy. Same shit every night. Movie premiere, concert, after party. As I was packing my bag to head to Italy, my Uncle Lenny called. My grandmother had just died. Bernice Johnson, the original HNIC. She was 92. The last time I saw her was in 2002 or 2003, when I took my kids to visit her for Christmas at her new house in Cold Spring Harbor, Huntington, Long Island. She had Alzheimer's disease, and it seemed as if she didn't recognize me or the kids. It was weird. She still looked healthy and happy though. Ever since I was 13 years old, I had been running the streets hard trying to pursue my music career. From ages 6 to 15, my grandmother would sit me down and taught me how she built her business from nothing into something tremendous. But after my grandmother's business grew big, problems started to surface. She was used to doing everything herself and being the HNIC, but her business became so successful that it was too overwhelming for her to run it on her own. Grandmoms hired a handful of her closest girlfriends in key positions, but most of them tried to take advantage of her and manipulate situations for their own benefit. That taught me to never hire friends. She started making bad business decisions. A few family members stepped in to help get things back in order. And even though their intentions were good, that was another error. Family could be worse than friends in that situation. She needed to hire qualified professionals. Dwindling clients, constant changes in music, fashion, and dance trends, plus IRS problems. At the end of the day, what was left was an untended business in serious debt. My mother and a couple of other ladies who grew up in my grandmother's dance school, like Carrie Edge and Ashanti's mother Tina, wanted me to step in and gain control of the business when I was around 24 back in 1998. But I was busy building a career and life of my own. My Uncle Lenny came to live with my grandmother in 1989 to help her with everything. I was so caught up in my own world back then, I figured Uncle Lenny knew what he was doing. Grandmoms was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease around 1995, and Uncle Lenny took care of her along with my grandmother's close friend and dance student, Wesley. Shaka, your grandmother told me that all of her money, homes, and her building are going to you when she passes away, my mother told me. I don't want anybody trying to swindle all of your inheritance. You need to hire an inheritance lawyer and make sure you're getting what is rightfully yours. But when I would go visit, Uncle Lenny seemed like he was doing an excellent job. He took care of my grandmoms extremely well. Lenny told me that he was concentrating on saving the 3 homes and that he would make sure they were left for me to own later in life. I really didn't care about inheritance. I just loved my grandmother. To me, that was my grandmom's life, not mine's. I'd get my own. I had to focus on my career, and if I inherited any of my grandmother's things, that would be a blessing that I would cherish and pass on to my children. When grandmoms died, I was hurt, but I knew she lived a full life. I wasn't concerned at all about what she left behind for me, if there was anything at all. I let Uncle Lenny handle that stuff, and I never mentioned it to him. I don't know what ended up happening with her estate. I left it in the hands of the Most High. That day, we flew in 50's G5 to Italy. Plush leather, marble, and gold trimming. As soon as we got to the Ritz-Carlton in Rome, I called Mobb Deep's Italian engineer Steve Sola in New York to tell him that we were in his hometown and ask him where we can get some authentic chicken parmesan. Anywhere, he said. It's Italy. But most of the restaurants we tried looked at us with disgust and acted as if they didn't want to serve us because we were black. 50's hotel room was connected to ours, and we left the doors open to walk in and out of each other's rooms. We could see the Coliseum from our window. 50 was eating a huge bowl of shrimp spaghetti. He must have seen me scoping it and seen the hunger in my face because he offered me a bowl. That shrimp spaghetti was good as hell. 50 and I had a long talk after we ate about how stupid a lot of the fans were for believing Jay-Z when he tried to discredit me. If the fans who sided with Jay knew you personally, P, they would love you, 50 said. But fans only go off what they hear. Jay-Z just manipulated the fans' perception of you. But they don't know the real. Perception is powerful. That next night, Alchemist and I got our hands on some strong hash weed. While we were smoking in our hotel room, we were making fun of all the rappers who don't say anything meaningful in their music. So I started freestyling my own version of a meaningless verse about how they call hash shit in France. To makes me a hit, I smokes me a block of shit, then I gets in the zone of Al Capone. I was high as hell, repeating the rhyme over and over, adding more to it. Alchemist was cracking up. But that stupid-ass freestyle ended up being a real song. That Go with Keek the Sneak, a rapper from the Bay Area. 50 was on some military shit with his crew. The way I had been in a house in Long Island when my boys thought I was crazy. I knew what it took to succeed and was around a bunch of knuckleheads who didn't share my vision. I saw a lot of my character in 50. His moves were calculated and his mind was sharp. He inspired me to snap back into position. But it wasn't easy now that I had been blinded by the limelight and luxurious lifestyle. I was overindulgent with drugs, alcohol, jewelry, cars, women, publicity. The evil bastard inside of me was turning into a real monster. Yo, what the fuck are you doing? I'd ask myself. Stop it, man. But it was hard to snap out of it. 50 would tell me, all you need to do is get your health and your body in shape and you'll be unstoppable. Havoc started swimming in liquor like a tequila worm. Even worse, Hav seemed like he wasn't enthusiastic about the music industry anymore. It was just a job. Alchemist and the rest of us would constantly try to cheer him up and remind him that he was the best in the business. But he was soon back to acting depressed, destroying every hotel minibar and leaving behind $600 hotel bills for 50 at checkout time. We gave him the nickname Mr. Minibar because he would drink all the liquor in his room, then come to my room and scheme on my minibar liquor. At first, I'd think, wow, Hav came to kick it with me. 5 minutes later, he would discreetly make his way to my minibar and leave the room. He did that to everybody on tour, including 50. Havoc and I were both fucking up in our own ways. Our last stop on the international run of the Massacre Tour was in a super rich, tiny, sovereign state called Monaco at the south of France. Before Monaco, we stopped at a hotel on the water in Marseille, where you could see Morocco, Africa, right across the ocean. This is beautiful. I would love to bring Kiki to this spot, I thought. An hour away in Monaco, we stayed at the Ritz-Carlton and shot the window shopper video outside by the shops, restaurants, and casino. After the shoot, Alchemist, 40 Glock, Twin, and I went to the casino to play craps. They wouldn't let you in without a button-down shirt, and you couldn't get excited and shout when you won. The whole casino was quiet like a fucking library. Shh, people are gambling. Way too bougie for me. We got out of there quick. It was back to America. We did about 15 more shows in the United States and a bunch of movie premieres. Then it was finally over. It felt good to sit the fuck down and relax for a split second. Havoc and I swapped cars every so often. Hav had a lot of fly cars. A black-on-black 4.6 Range, a black-on-black G-Wagon Benz truck, a yellow and black Lamborghini, a white GT3 Porsche, a silver 750 BMW, and a black Cadillac truck. Hav let me borrow the Lamborghini one day, and oh my God, that's the fastest car I ever drove besides my turbo. While we were finishing our Blood Money album, I got cool with another one of the jewelers who came around trying to get cool with 50. Look, I'll say your name in my first single and video if you give me $150,000 worth of jewels for $30,000, I offered. And he agreed. I had at least $250,000 worth of diamond jewelry at that time that I only paid like $80,000 for. Being around 50, Banks, and Yayo made me feel like I had to step my shine up, and I did. Slowly, I started to realize that jewelry was played out, and I wanted to start a new trend of not wearing it at all. Yo, I ain't rocking chains no more, I told 50 and Yayo one day, but they disagreed. P, everybody knows you for your 40-inch chain. You started that. You can't switch up now because the kids are gonna think you're broke if you ain't got no chain on. They insisted, so I agreed. But I felt a drastic change coming, and I knew I was gonna start a new trend. No jewelry at all. For the time being, I kept the jewels on and wore the rapper costume. Uncle Lenny set up a big funeral service celebrating my grandmother at LaGuardia High School in Manhattan, aka the High School of Performing Arts. My mother and I went together. The place was jam-packed with old friends, family, familiar faces, and faces I couldn't even remember, plus strangers. My man Roger, Craig's mother, Aunt Cheryl, JM's grandparents, Ashanti and her moms, Tina, Kerry Edge and her sisters and mother, Ben Vereen, and so many others. People performed dance routines, and Ben Vereen spoke, along with other close family friends. They wanted me to speak, but I wasn't in the mood. I just wanted to enjoy my grandmother's celebration with my moms. After the service, I got tired of everybody at the reception coming up to me saying, "Oh, I remember when you was a little boy," and "I remember when you was born." So I went outside to smoke a cigarette with Kerry, Aunt Cheryl, and Roger, who doesn't smoke. Then Tina and Ashanti walked out with bodyguards as if they were concerned about their safety. It looked strange. They said hi and bye and then bounced. Maybe they felt some kind of way about the Irv Gotti and Jay-Z photo situation. That's definitely how Jay-Z got that picture, I thought. Maybe they felt some kind of way because I was down with 50 Cent and G-Unit now. 50 had been dissing Ja Rule and Ashanti. Oh well, whatever. Thinking about all the lives and people my grandmother inspired was amazing. Bernice Johnson helped show countless people, especially black women, how to become successful in whatever they wanted to do in life. She's responsible for Mobb Deep learning how to produce beats. I got the name Head Nigga in Charge from her. She's the reason I never suffered from stage fright after that Diana Ross incident in Central Park. I love and miss you, grandmas. Blood Money was finished in less than 2 months. 50 was excited. Our first single, Put 'Em in Their Place, got placed in a big movie called Stomp the Yard. For some reason, a lot of people seem to think that 50 created that album for us, saying things like, "That album is too G-Unit," or "There's too much 50 influence in that album." but Mobb Deep controlled all the decision-making and production. And I designed the album cover concept. Us at the table, filled with piles of cash, like we just robbed a bank. Magazines and radio personalities were printing articles and making comments saying, Blood Money sales stalled at 300,000 copies. Seems like Mobb Deep lost their fan base. But the album went gold. 500,000 copies sold. People in the streets were saying, Mobb Deep fell off. Prodigy sucking 50 Cent. Jay-Z destroyed Mobb Deep's career. And Prodigy hasn't been the same since Summer Jam. But all that girly mouth talk was hollow. One of the songs we recorded for Blood Money, Pearly Gates, ended up being the most controversial. The subject matter deals with growing up in a criminal environment and participating in its illegal activities, while at the same time struggling with the moral and spiritual consequences of those choices. Will we go to hell for our actions, or is there indeed a heaven for us if we pray for forgiveness? As a youth, I had conflicting views about religion and God, mainly because of my struggle with sickle cell pain. I used to think, if God is real, then why does God allow me to suffer so much? My verse on Pearly Gates was my way of venting frustration about what I believed to be a corrupt system of organized religion. At that time, I had came to the conclusion that all the good people of this world, especially my black people, had been made to take part in religious rituals and pray to a God that's not ours. A song is only about 3 minutes, and having only one of those minutes to get your point across in a verse isn't easy. So I must admit, I did a terrible job trying to articulate my point on that track. I offended a lot of fans and turned a lot of people off with my choice of words in the explicit version of that song. The legal department at Interscope Records actually refused to release the album unless I changed some of the lyrics. They told me I couldn't use the words God or Jesus. I was outraged at first. That's a violation of my constitutional rights. But instead of making a big deal out of it and delaying the Mobb Deep album, I went ahead and changed it. G-Unit set up a Blood Money album release party at the Roxy in downtown Manhattan. 40 Glock, Alchemist, Twin, Nice's homeboy Wop, Noid, Fly, this new rapper from Jersey named Sam Scarfo, Gotti, Godfather, Chinky, and a bunch of others met up at the G-Unit office a few hours before the event. Around midnight, we hopped into our cars. About 15 cars full of people followed us from the office to the spot. The line to get inside stretched the entire block. My driver was at the wheel of my Yukon Denali with 40 Glock, Nice, Sam Scarfo, Wop, and me riding in my truck. And Havoc also had a driver, and his Range Rover had himself, Fly, Gotti, Alchemist, and Twin. Havoc and I hired this dude named Jay to do security that night. NYPD had the club block completely barricaded. As soon as we pulled up to the corner and double parked, I noticed 3 black dudes, about 30 years old, standing on the corner looking suspicious. I sized them up quickly from head to toe. Their inexpensive outfits and cheap track sneakers. I immediately knew they were undercover cops. The D's, as we call them, detectives. Growing up in the streets of New York, we learned how to spot the D's easy. Examining the clothes, sneakers, attitude, waist, wrist, and neck of a person to judge if they were the D's or not. Cheap clothes, a bulge at the waist or back pocket of the pants, and cheap sneakers or rubber-soled shoes were all dead giveaways. The wrists were important because if a person had a sweatband or a headband wrapped around their wrist, that's a gun squad detective. They wore that as a secret sign to let other cops know they were working undercover. It's usually purple or green. but they switched colors because of people like me who learn these things. The neck was vital because the D's wore silver dog tag style chains with their badges tucked under their shirts and only pulled them out when making an arrest or a stop. So if we saw that chain, or if they had a turtleneck or mock neck shirt, that's a sign. We were used to their elusive ways. The characters on the corner were definitely undercover cops. Our security guy, Jay, walked from the club to our trucks and told us that the club was ready for us to walk in, so we hopped out and headed inside. We all walked through the back entrance of the Roxy, were searched, then went upstairs to the VIP. We ordered shots of Hennessy, bottles of Moet, smoked weed, and kicked it with our guests. DJ On Point, who would fill in for Alchemist when Al was on tour with Eminem, brought us our mics and we walked to the stage. We performed a couple of classics before getting into Blood Money. During Put 'Em in Their Place, a few Queensbridge dudes climbed onto the side of the stage. I heard a commotion behind me and felt people bumping into my back while I was performing. 40 Glock and Nice were arguing with Draws, my man from QB, who always put a smile on my face whenever I saw him. So I gave him a pound and signaled for 40 and Nice to fall back. Drunken Draws danced behind us, waving his hands in the air. It became Mobb Deep featuring Draws live at the Roxy. One of Draws' Queensbridge dudes was standing next to him wearing a long gold chain with a medallion. He took off his chain and tried putting it around Havoc's neck while Havoc was rapping his verse on Put 'Em in Their Place. But the chain got caught on Havoc's sunglasses and tangled onto the microphone. 40 Glock, Gotti, and Nice told him to stop, but the dude kept trying to put his chain on Hav's neck. After his third attempt, 40 punched the dude in the mouth. Then everybody stomped him into the ground. Everybody started pushing and shoving to get out the way, and we had to end the show. Our security, Jay, grabbed Havoc and me and swept us out of the commotion, our boys following. After pulling off in our vehicles, about 6 blocks away from the club, my driver informed me that an unmarked detective car had its police lights on behind us. We pulled over on the West Side Highway around 23rd Street. A young black undercover cop approached the passenger side where I was sitting. Just like I thought, it was one of the 3 dudes from the corner who I thought were D's before we went into the Roxy. I rolled down the window. "Albert Johnson?" he said. "Yes, what's the problem?" "Step out of the car, please." Now I was nervous. First off, the police never walk up to your car and just say your name. That was strange. Secondly, the undercover looked like he was younger than me. These ain't cops. These are some dudes trying to act like cops, I thought. This shit is a setup, a robbery. A blue and white police squad car pulled up, and a sergeant or captain stepped out. "Is everything all right?" he asked. The young black undercover pulled out his badge chain from out his shirt. "Yes, sir," he replied. "We got it under control." That helped calm me down, because now they seemed like they were real cops. "What's the problem?" I got out of the truck and asked. "Turn around and put your hands behind your back," he said. "I'll tell you in a minute." He handcuffed me and told my driver, "Okay, you can go." They didn't search my truck or harass the other passengers inside. They didn't even read me my rights. This wasn't normal at all. My boys asked, "What's going on? Where you taking them?" "To the Midtown precinct," the cop replied, walking me to the unmarked car where his 2 partners were waiting. "What am I being arrested for?" I asked the cop beside me in the back seat. "You'll find out soon," he said. I calmed myself down with a few deep breaths and snapped into my hustler's mentality. Think wise, I told myself. Don't get aggravated. Just be cool and get what you can out of these dudes. They look like some cool black cops. They're probably rap fans. Start manipulating. There was a brief moment of silence as I gathered my thoughts. Whose idea was it to arrest me after the show? I asked. 'Cause I saw you guys before we went in. Another moment of silence. It was my idea, the cop driving responded. I didn't want the fans to start rioting if you didn't perform. Now just reel them in. That was cool, man. Good looking, man, I said. At least I got to enjoy our party. The driver replied, No problem. How was the show? And who was fighting? It was good. I don't know who was fighting, I said. It happened behind us on stage while we were performing. The driver relaxed and started talking more now. Well, you're used to seeing us around. We've been assigned to Mobb Deep in G Unit, he said. Wow. So this is the hip-hop task force that I heard so much about. Yeah, I thought I recognized you guys. I've seen y'all around a few times, I said. But I was lying. I'd never seen these fools before. Yeah, we were at that Lloyd Banks party a while ago, the driver said. There were a lot of hot women at that one. We've been following you for a couple of months. Another unmarked car followed them. The other car, with 3 white undercovers, pulled up alongside us. I looked down at my chest and remembered that I had on about $250,000 worth of chains, bracelets, and rings. I wasn't about to let it all go into some grimy-ass police property room. So I asked the driver, Hey man, listen, do you mind if I use your cell phone so I can call my manager and have him meet us somewhere on the way to the precinct? I don't want to go through the system with all this jewelry on. They looked at all the diamonds I had on. Yeah, let him do it. Pass me your cell phone, the one sitting next to me told the driver. I gave him Gotti's number. Hello? Is this Gotti? This is Detective... Can't remember. We're taking your man Prodigy to the Midtown precinct, and he wants to give you his jewelry. Meet us on the corner of 35th Street and 9th Avenue, okay? Cool, thanks. While we were running red lights through traffic, we got pulled over by a blue and white squad car. These idiots are pulling us over, the driver said. You see, Prodigy? They're just doing this because we're black. Don't they see our police lights flashing in their face? I couldn't believe it. Cops were getting pulled over by some other cops for driving recklessly. This was some classic shit. Driver, turn the car off. One of the white cops got out the unmarked car and pulled his badge chain out of his shirt to let the cops in the squad car know that they were all cops. When the squad car police realized they pulled over some black detectives, they apologized and went on their way. I was still wondering why in the hell I was being arrested. I kept asking, but they wouldn't say. It almost seemed like they didn't know. All they said was, We've got a warrant for your arrest. You'll find out when you get booked and processed. Gotti was waiting on the corner of 35th Street and 9th Avenue. The D's took all my jewelry off for me, opened the car trunk, spread my jewelry out on a towel, and took pictures of it. Then told Gotti they needed to take his picture. I guess they wanted these pictures for their Mobb Deep G Unit hip-hop task force file. They wanted to know about everyone around us. But the pictures of my jewelry seemed strange. What could they use that for? We're doing this so that we're not responsible for anything if something turns up missing when you get out, one of them said. I told Gotti to contact Kiki and have her call my lawyer. Then they took me to the precinct. Fingerprints, mugshots, and waiting for hours in a cell before they transported me to central booking, the Tombs. The only thing good about the Tombs, after sitting in the precinct for hours, was that they brought you bologna and cheese sandwiches and milk to the bullpen holding cells. On my way through the metal detectors in the hallway, I saw Mike Lighty, Chris Lighty's little brother, waiting on the line to be searched for another bullpen. We said what's up to each other and kept it moving. Mike said that he had been arrested for fighting somebody, and I told him I didn't know what I was in for yet. The 3 wooden benches in the bullpen were full of sleeping inmates, so I put my jacket on the floor to lie down. The floor was dirty as hell, but when you're tired and locked up, you start not caring about dirt. I fell asleep on the hard, grimy-ass floor, and as soon as somebody got up off the bench, I took his spot. The whole place smelled like piss. The toilet didn't even have a seat, just a rim covered with dry piss and spit. A few hours later, the pen was full to capacity, with hardly any standing room. You start to lose time in there. The waiting process, usually about 24 hours, seems like forever if you didn't sleep. So mostly, I slept. Around 10 a.m. the next morning, a black detective shouted my name, cuffed me, and led me to the courtroom to see the judge with my file in his hand. "Officer, can you please tell me what I'm being charged for?" I asked. "They didn't tell you yet?" he said. "No, I've been trying to find out all night," I said. He looked at my papers as we were